Hello and welcome everyone to Lock Daddy's house, bringing you a set review of Ravnica Allegiance, the newest Magic set that comes out on the 25th, Friday, January. So, how this is going to work is we're going to go through each color, and we're going to zero in on cards that have possible playability in constructed formats, all constructed formats, legacy, modern, and standard constructed formats. Maybe not so much vintage, because vintage is kind of like few and far between. You're not going to find cards that go into vintage very often, but I think there are several cards that will be playable in legacy and modern from this set. I think this is a very strong set. I like the flavor of this set a lot. Like, I love the guild flavor. I love the artwork on the cards in this set. I especially love the Rakdos artwork. It's amazing. Like, Rakdos is super sick. So, without further ado, let's jump right in. Card number 1 for white is Angel of Grace. Now, this card seems very, very strong to me. It's 2 white, 3 colorless, flash, 5/4, and flying. And when Angel of Grace enters the battlefield until end of turn, damage that reduces your life total to less than 1 reduces it to 1 instead. So this is amazing. It also has 4 colorless, 2 white, exile Angel of Grace from your graveyard, your life total becomes 10. So if this happens to be in your graveyard, like, you know, for whatever reason, because of Search for Azcanta, because of, you know, any other card effect that puts it into your graveyard, you can just, as an instant speed, pay 2 white and 4 colorless and exile it from your graveyard to make your life total 10. So you can do that in response to getting hit by, like, you know, a damage effect, being attacked, you know, for any reason you can respond to anything and do this. Very, very powerful. And it being a 5/4 flash creature also on top of that is insane. So this card is definitely good. It's going to see standard play, like, absolutely. It might not be main deck, but it's definitely going to be a sideboard card. Against, you know, aggro decks, red decks, burn decks, like anything that just attacks your life total directly, like, and tries to get you from 20 to 0 as fast as possible. Looks like the average price is $15.43 on TCG right now. So yeah, people are definitely valuing this card pretty decently before the set drops, and I think picking up a couple of these would be perfectly fine pre-set, because they're probably going to go up. I would say they're going to go up when the set drops. They're probably going to go up to like 20, maybe even 25. I mean, it is a mythic, and, you know, you can play this in response to them hitting your life total. Like, so if they, like, cast a burn spell at your face and you're at like 3 life, you know, they hit you with a lightning strike, you can flash it in response and your life total would stay at 3, because you can't, or no, less than 1 reduces it to 1 instead. Okay, so it would keep you at 1 life instead of putting you at 0. So you can then, like, or if you're gonna, you can flash it in, block a creature, and if it happens to put your angel in the graveyard, then you can, like, put your life total at 10 on your turn. It's just like, this card is super flexible, like, not to mention being a 5/4 flyer on top of that. You can just, like, is a 4-turn clock if you're playing a control deck. Like, I could see, like, blue-white control just main decking this card too as, like, one of its win conditions, like playing, like, maybe 1 main deck. Definitely. So that card's good. We're gonna write down cards that are decent. So Angel of Grace, 3 white, standard, playable. All right. Next card, Angelic Exaltation. 1 white, 3 colorless. Enchantment. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. This card I do not think is very good. Because it's based on, like, how many creatures you have, it's like the Exalted effect, basically. The Exalted effect says, like, you know, if your creature attacks alone, it gets +1/+1 for each Exalted you have. Unfortunately, though, this card, like, because it's a 4-cost enchantment, just doesn't seem very good. Like, the point of having a bunch of creatures, like, in a white weenie deck is, like, you're just swinging with everything, so there's no real reason to, like, do this unless you're trying to, like, play around Settle the Wreckage, but, like, that's just so specific play around that this card is not very good. I don't think this card is very good in Limited either. I think this card is just not very good. So, we're going to move on. Archway Angel. 5 colors, 1 white, flying. When it enters the battlefield, you get 2 life for each gate you control. Yeah, I don't see this card as very good either. 6 mana for a 3/4 flying that has like a a gain life effect just doesn't seem very good. This is decent in Limited. Like, this is definitely a playable uncommon in Limited. So if you're like drafting or like playing sealed, like, this can definitely find your way into a deck, especially if you have gates. It just gives you that bonus life. But other than that, I don't think it'll see constructed play. Arrester's Zeal, 1 white, target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn, instant speed. And then Addendum, which is a new ability in Ravnica Allegiant. If you cast this spell during your main phase, that creature gains flying until end of turn. So, this is not bad. This might see standard play. Like, this is definitely a good combat trick in, like, limited formats, sealed or draft. It might be, like, in a white weenie deck. Like, maybe you're probably just going to play removal instead of this card. Like, single target buffs. I mean, it does give you a creature flying if you play it on your turn before the attack. So, like, that's something, but it's probably not going to see standard play. Just because, like, the white removal is just so good. You're going to want to play, like, Seal Away or, like, any of the other myriad of white removal spells that are just better than this. The Convoke removal. That card is just built for a white weenie deck, like, so that card's, it's all right. It's a perfectly playable combat trick in Limited. But Bring to Trial, 1 white, 2 colorless, sorcery, exile target creature with power 4 or greater. This card, not great. There's so many good exile effects already. I mean, you could definitely play this in, like, probably is just like sideboarded Limited. I wouldn't necessarily main deck this card because it's a very specific removal. So, yeah, not great. Civic Stalwart, 1 white, 3 colorless. When Civic Stalwart enters the battlefield, creatures you can hold it +1/+1 until end turn. This is a great Limited common. Now, whether this card sees standard play, I don't think it will. Maybe like a one of. I feel like just Locks It on Smiter is just like a better card than this, and like because it puts counters on your creatures and like is a 4/4. This thing's alright. Like, this is definitely good in Limited, but probably not going to see standard play. Because Locks It on Smiter is just better. Concordia Pegasus, 1/3 flyer, vanilla for 1 white, 1 colorless. It's a decent common for. This is definitely playable in Limited. A 1/3 flyer for 2 is definitely not bad for Limited. Exposed to Daylight. 1 white, 2 colorless, destroy target artifact or enchantment, scry 1. This is not a bad card. This card might be sideboardable in Standard. I mean, the scry 1 on top of being able to kill an artifact or enchantment is pretty sweet. It's weird that it's scry and not the other effect, which is the name is escaping me right now. That lets you surveil. That's what I'm thinking of. Surveil lets you like look at the card and put it in your graveyard, and scry you bottom deck it. So like, or keep it on the top. So apparently they're going away from surveil. They don't want a lot of surveil cards probably because surveil is strictly better than scry because because your graveyard is a resource. So putting it in your graveyard is better than putting it on the bottom of your deck in most cases, like 99% of the time. Because you're typically not going to ever see that card again that you scry to the bottom. Like, maybe you are if you shuffle your deck and somehow, like, find it again. But there's, like, putting something on the bottom of your deck, like, it basically takes it out of circulation and doesn't gain you any advantage, it being there. You just get to choose what cards on your top of your deck is basically what scry was designed for. But Surveils just takes it to a next level and lets you use your... Okay, so we can write down Exposed to Daylight as a possible sideboard card. Sideboardable. It's not a word, but we're making it a word. Making new words, hashtag. So yeah, that's sideboardable. Okay, Forbidding Spirit. 2 white, 1 colorless. When Forbidding Spirit enters the battlefield until your next turn, creatures can't attack you or a planeswalker you control unless their controller pays 2 for each of those creatures. This card's pretty interesting. It's like a prison effect on a creature, but it's only for 1 turn. So like, you know, if you're facing like a board full of creatures and like you could stave them off for 1 turn, I don't think this is particularly good. I think in limited it's good because maybe you can like, you know, swing with some stuff and leave yourself open, and they think like, oh, they're going to kill you on the swing back, so they're going to take all the damage. So then you place Foreboding Spirit like post combat, second main phase, and then it's like, oh, you got to pay 2 for each of your creatures, and you've got like 6 creatures out, and you can't attack with all of them now. So, you might be able to like cobble something together. Like, I think it's decent. 3 for 3/3 is decent too. So this is definitely limited playable, but I don't think that's going to get played in standard. Because basically, if you're that far behind and there's just a ton of creatures out, this is not a permanent way to save you. You're just going to play a board wipe effect, like something that's just permanently gets the, you know, gives you control again of the board. Alright, Hazda Officer. 1 white, 2 colorless. When he enters the battlefield, target creature can always +1/+1 until end of turn. Standard. This is limited playable. It's a decent common. Throw that in your deck as a, you know, a 3-drop. It's alright. Hero Precinct 1. Okay, this guy's badass. Wow, he's only average $3. Whenever he's 1 white, 1 colorless, human warrior. Whenever you cast a multicolored spell, create a 1/1 white human creature token. Okay, no, this guy's not the one I was thinking of. This guy's alright. Because, I mean, he creates tokens, so, like, anything that creates tokens definitely needs to be looked at for value, because, you know, Young Pyromancer, Monastery Mentor, the blue guy, Murmuring Mystic, like, all of these cards, like, are extremely valuable because they put more bodies on the table. Like, obviously, you know, Pyromancer is, like, among the strongest because it's instant or sorcery, and then Monastery Mentor is any non-creature spell. So this is not quite as good because obviously it's multicolored spells, and you're not going to have very many I mean, you're going to have, you could possibly play like, you know, like 5 or 6 multi. So I don't think this card's that great. It's like Fringe. Like, this is Fringe. You could build like a deck around it, but I don't really think it's going to see any constructed play, really. Impassioned Orator. 1 white, 1 colorless. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. So it's a Soul Sister. It's a Soul Warden effect / Soul Sister. This is alright. Like, this is probably going to be in like some kind of white weenie like life gain deck, because you've got Healer Hawk and you've got, you know, that enchantment that gains a life every turn. You got the artifact that does it too, or it's the artifact that does it. Yeah. So this could be another, and you have, you know, a Johnny's Pride mate. So like, this could definitely, this is fringy. So we're not gonna write that one down. It's like specific like fringy deck type. I don't necessarily think that deck's gonna be a good deck. It might be. So I guess we can write him down. Impassioned Order as fringe. White, standard, fringe, playable. Yeah. Justicar's Portal. 1 white, 1 colorless, instant, exile target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield on its owner's control against first strike until end of turn. Okay, so this card is kind of like a really defensive card. I mean, it's a combat trick that will, you know, save you from a removal spell. You can blink it, you know, in response to them casting like a removal or whatever, and then it gains first strike when it comes back. So then, like, you could be like, oh, now I block you and I'm first strike. So like, it's decent. Like, this is definitely limited playable. This is probably pretty good in limited. Probably not playable in Constructed, though. So I don't expect to see that card in Constructed. Knight of Sorrows. 4 colorless, 1 white. Knight of Sorrows can block an additional creature each combat and Afterlife 1. Again, this card's probably... Afterlife's good. It's the create a 1/1 white and black spirit token with flying when it dies. This card is good in limited. Like, I can definitely see this as a limited common. Like, maybe a 1 of. It's not great in limited, but it's good. Like, anything with Afterlife is probably going to be playable in limited. Because it's just 2 creatures in 1. Like, it's almost like a 2 for 1. The blocking an extra creature is alright. Like, it's mostly about the Afterlife. So I can see that being played in limited as like a 1 of. Lumbering Battlement. 4 colorless, 1 white. Vigilance, 4/5. When Lumbering Battlement enters the battlefield, exile any number of other non-token creatures you control until it leaves the battlefield. Lumbering Battlement gets +2/+2 for each card exiled with it. This is pretty sweet. Like, I like this card. This, like, protects you from board wipes. So, like, I could definitely see this in, like, a white weenie deck. So if they, like, are forced to use a board wipe on it, because it's a 4/5 first off, and it's got Vigilance. So, like, Seal Away doesn't work on this. Which is, like, a main stake, like, single target removal for white. And if they play a board wipe, this just dies and all the rest of the creatures come back. So this is, like, protects your team, and it gets bigger with each card exiled. So, like, it's like this gigantic creature that needs to get dealt with, like, immediately. And since it says enters and leaves the battlefield, that means that there's no way that all the things that you exile with it stay in exile. Because leaving the battlefield... The only thing that screws this over is, like, a pacifism effect. That's the worst ever. But no one really plays pacifism effects because they're not very good. Versus, like, something that exiles or destroys or whatever. Like, you're going to play those effects over, like... I don't even know if there's a pacify effect in Standard right now. There might be, like, one. Which is an enchantment that means it, like, can't attack or block. So it's just sitting there doing nothing and your creatures remain exiled. So that would be the only thing that screws you in this situation. But we're going to write this down. I think this is possibly Standard playable. Yeah, 4/1 white. Standard. I'll say Fringe playable. I think it could be decent. Because it does protect your whole team from board wipes. And even if it gets countered, like, it's when it enters the battlefield, so counters it before it enters the battlefield. So there's no way to get screwed over except by a pacifism effect. So, alright, Ministrant of Obligation. Afterlife, 1 white, 2 colorless, Afterlife 2, 2/1. Okay, this guy's pretty decent. Like, I could see this guy being played in Standard. Because Afterlife 2, the only problem with Afterlife is the creature has to die, so, like, there's a lot of exile effects flying around in Standard right now. There's Lava Coil, there's Seal Away, there's Settle the Wreckage, you know, Ixalan's Binding, Conclave Tribunal, which is the, like, you know, Convoke one, which all the, like, weenie decks play, white weenie decks, and so, like, that's not good for Afterlife, but still I think Afterlife 2 is really, really good on a 3-drop creature that's a 2/1, so... Getting 2 1/1 flyers out of the deal is really strong. So I could definitely see this being played in Standard. So we're going to write this down. And it's definitely good in Limited, too. It's very good in Limited. Like, very good. Because you're not going to have access to, you know, your choice of removal suites. So, like, pretty much it's going to pretty much give you, almost every time, give you the tokens in Limited. But I think this guy's going to get played in... Standard in, like, token deck. Definitely like a black-white token deck. An Orzhov, if you will. So I'm going to say Standard playable. This card seems really good. Prowling Caracal. Just a 3/1 for 2. This is limited playable. Not great. Rally to battle. 3 colorless, 1 white. Creature, instant speed. Creature control at +1/+3 until end of turn. Untap them. Okay, this card's pretty strong. This is a very strong limited card. This will definitely get played in limited because you can just win off cards like this, off these rally cry effects. And it untaps all of them too. So like you can alpha in and like every single one of your creatures is going to live pretty much because they're going to block, you know, accordingly. And then you pop this out and then you get to untap all of them. So like, yeah, this card's great in limited. Probably not going to see standard play because it costs 4 and I don't know. It might be French playable. We'll put down French playable. Resolute Watchdog. 1 white. Defender. 1/3. 1 colorless. Sacrifice Resolute Watchdog. Target creature you control gains indestructible until end of turn. This card's okay. In like limited, I can see that if you're playing like a really slow, dirtily deck that wants to just like get to later turns and put out something big, like a big finisher, I could see playing this in limited definitely because it's a 1/3 for 1, which is like blocks for days, like blocks 2 drops pretty much a lot of the time and doesn't die. And then it has this extra ability, which is pretty decent. So that's limited playable. I don't think it's playable in standard. Sentinel's Mark, 1 white, 1 colorless, enchantment flash. Enchanted creature is +1/+2 and has vigilance. Addendum. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it during your main phase, enchanted creature gains lifelink until the turn. Okay, this is pretty sweet. So if you play this main phase, you get lifelink until end of turn, vigilance +1/+2, and you can also play it as a combat trick at instant speed. So I think this is a really good limited card, and it might even see like it's probably won't because enchantments you don't really play in standard like at creature buffs. So that's really good in limited, but I'm probably not going to see play in constructed. Like, probably not even Fringe. I just don't think it's, like, creature enchantments are typically good enough to play in constructed. Sky Tether. Enchanted creature has Defender and loses flying. Okay, okay, we were just talking about pacifism effects. Alright? This is kind of a pacifism effect. The creature can still block, but, like, if this were cast on that previous creature, the, Lumbering Battlement, then your creatures would be stuck exiled and you would just have this giant ground blocker, and that's all it could do is block. So this card's pretty good. This card's pretty good in limited. It takes care of like a really big like threat and turns it into a defender. So I would definitely play this card, like at least one of it in a limited deck. Because removal's pretty premium. This is not actually a removal, but it can take care of like a really bad big bad flyer or just any big bad creature. So I think it's limited playable. Probably not standard playable though, because there's just such good removal. Smothering Tithe, 3 colorless, 1 white. Enchantment. Whenever an opponent draws a card, that player may pay 2 colorless. If the player doesn't, you create a colorless treasure artifact token with sack added color mana. Okay, this card's weird. This is like a combo card. Like you could play this with the what is it? Pirate's Plunder. There's like the black Ixalan card that says if you have 15 treasures, I believe, you win the game. I don't know if it's the start of your upkeep or if you just anytime you have 15 treasures, you win the game. So like this card's like a fringy, weird, like, you know, combo card. So I'm gonna go ahead and not write this card down. This might be just too cute, like a 4-cost enchantment. I don't know. You're not affecting the board at all. Like, we're gonna not write that card down because that sounds like kind of a gimmick deck. Spirit of the Spires, 1 white, 3 colorless, flying 2/4. Other creatures control with flying get +0/+1. Okay, there's a whole line of these cards. There's one for each color, I believe, and they're all uncommon. I think they're all really good in limited. Probably not going to see play in standard. I mean, like if you're playing a token deck, Yeah, giving +1 toughness to tokens is alright. You know, all your little 1/1 flyers become 1/2s, but like, I don't think it's good enough for 4 cost. I mean, 2/4 is alright. And it doesn't give it to itself, so it's alright. I think it's limited playable, but not standard playable. Summary Judgment. 1 white, 1 colorless. Summary Judgment deals 3 damage to target tap creature. Addendum. If you cast a spell during your main phase, it deals 5 damage to that creature instead. Again, this is a limited card. It's a removal. So I think it's decent and limited. Not going to see standard play, though, because removal's too good. Syndicate Messenger. 1 white, 3 colorless. Flying, 2/3. Afterlife 1. Great limited card. Probably not going to see play in standard. 10th District Veteran. 1 white, 2 colorless, vigilance whenever 10th District Veteran attacks, untap another target creature you control. That's pretty good. That's a great limited card. Well, not great. It's a good limited card. Probably not going to see play in standard. Tide Taker. Okay, this is the guy I was thinking of before. 1 white, 1 colorless, 2/1. During your turn, spells your opponent's cast cost 1 colorless more to cast, and abilities your opponents activate cost 1 more to activate unless they're mana abilities. And it's got Afterlife 1. So this is like a Thalia for just your opponent on your turn. So any instant speed, this really like hoses over control decks. Like anyone that wants to play counter magic, wants to play draw cards, opt, like any card on your turn that they're waiting to play on your instep, this card hoses them over. So this in a white weenie deck is going to be really strong. So this card's very good. It has Afterlife 1 also, so it just makes this card premium good. Like, I can definitely... It's only an average $3 right now. I think this card's going to be a staple in the white weenie decks. I think it's going to... And it's not even a legendary, so you can have, like, multiples of this guy in play. And it'll cost, 2 more to cast. Oh, you want to settle the wreckage? Pay an extra mana for it. You want to, if I have 2 out, pay 2 extra mana for it. You want to play removal on my turn? Pay extra mana for it. Yeah, I think this card's great. I think this is definitely going to get played in standard. It's probably not going to get played in modern. It might get played in modern. I don't know. It might even get played in Legacy. Like this, I play Death and Taxes in Legacy, and like it plays 4 Thalia's main deck. So maybe like 1 or 2 of these guys might be good against like decks that play, because Force of Will, all the cantrips that get played. And this doesn't affect you; it just affects your opponent. So I'm gonna go ahead and say this is like might be all format playable. Because I think it has potential to be played in all formats. All format playable. I think this... And then the Afterlife too, so even if you remove it, you get a 1/1 flyer out of it. Yeah. Like... I think it's decent. I definitely think it's decent. Alright, Twilight Panther. That's a cool picture. 1 white... For a 1/2 for black, Twilight Panther gains Death Touch until end of turn. I could see this in a limited deck. I think it's decent. I think 1 cost Death Touchers, even if they're activatable Death Touchers, are pretty decent and limited. So, Unbreakable Formation, 2 colorless, 1 white. Creature you control gain indestructible until end of turn. Addendum: if you cast a spell during your main phase, put a +1/+1 counter on each of those creatures, and they gain Vigilance. Okay, this card is busted. Not busted, but very, very good. Okay, this card is definitely going to see standard play. This card is great in limited. Like it probably... It's not modern playable because it costs 3, and it's white, and there really aren't many white weenie decks in modern. Maybe in kind of some kind of Boros aggro or Zoo deck or something like that, you could use this, but probably not going to. But it's definitely going to see play in standard, so we're going to write this down. This in a token deck is just busted. Like if you play this during your main phase, they get a +1/+1 counter. This is not until end of turn. This is a counter, okay? And they gain Vigilance, so they can block on the swing back, and they're indestructible. So is just kind of an all-in-one rally effect. And it's a rare, so yeah. Standard playable. And it's only $1.30. I think this card is undervalued. I think it'll be like $2 or $3 at least. Watchful Giant. Watchful Giant. In this battlefield, create a 1/1 white human creature token. It's limited playable. It's alright. For a 6-drop. It's not bad. It's not great. Oh, are we done with white already? Okay, I guess we're done with white. That was the last white card. Alright, we're on to blue. Arrester's Admonition. Admonition. Trying to use big words here. MTG, what are you doing, Wizards, huh? 2 colorless, 1 blue. Return target instant speed. Return target creature to its owner's hand. Addendum if you cast a spell during your main phase, draw a card. Okay, this card's great for limited. These bounce effects that have, you know, draw a card off of them are very good for limited. I do not think this card will be played in standard, though. Benthic Biomancer. 1 blue, 1/1, 1 blue and 1 to adapt 1. Oh, he's a Merfolk Wizard Mutant. Like, all the Simic creatures in this, and like some of the blue creatures are like 3 creature types. It's pretty crazy. Okay, so adapt 1, +1/+1 counter if they don't have any counters. Whenever one or more +1/+1 counters, put on Benthic Biomancer, draw a card, and then discard a card. This card's alright. It's nothing special. I mean, you're gonna play it probably in limited if you have it, and you're playing a blue deck, but I don't think it's standard playable. Chillbringer. 4 colorless, 1 blue. That's an awesome picture, dude. He's got the like buildings behind him, and he's just like going through the hollowed streets. Dude, that's badass. Flying 3/3, 4 colorless, 1 blue. When Chillbringer enters the battlefield, tap target creature your opponent controls. It doesn't impact during its criminals on next untap step. Okay, this effect's been around forever. It's the freeze effect, if you will. Keeps a creature tapped down. It's a flyer. This is a really good limited card. Definitely playable in any blue deck in limited. I don't think it's going to be played in any constructed. Clear the Mind. Target player shuffle 1 blue, 2 colorless. Target player shuffles their graveyard into their library. Sorcery speed. Draw a card. This is French. This might be French standard playable. I don't know. And it lets you draw a card. It's pretty good. If this were instant speed, it would be a lot better, because you could do it in response to, like, you know, effects that bring cards back from the graveyard, like Find Finality. If you could, like, do this in response to a Find and just be like, shuffle it all back in your graveyard, you don't get any creatures from it. I think this card would be really good in standard. But as it is, it's like, it's only decent. We'll put it as sideboard card in standard, because there is a lot of graveyard use in standard right now, so with Surveil and everything, and Search for Escanta, and, you know, Phoenix decks. Blue is a U. U. So, standard, I'm going to say sideboard. Standard sideboard. Okay, we'll turn it into sideboard playable, not sideboardable. Alright. Code of Constraint. 1 blue, 2 colorless, instant speed. Target creature gets -4/-0 until end of turn. Draw a card. Addendum: if you cast a spell during your main phase, tap that creature and it doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Okay, this card's pretty good for limited. I don't think this card is going to be played in constructed, but definitely includable in a limited deck, like, for sure. It even, like, doubles as, like, if you're on the attack, you can, like, possibly kill someone. Or I guess it's during your main phase. I guess if you want to swing like Alpha in and they have a big creature that you want to tap that doesn't untap, yeah. Coral Commando, just a Merfolk Warrior for 3/2, vanilla for 2 colors, 1 blue. Yeah, it's like a, you know, you could put one of those in your limited deck. It's one of those 3 costs for a 3/2. It's not great. Essence Capture, 2 blue, instant, counter target creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter up to 1 target creature you control. It's like an Essence Scatter, but it costs 2 core blue, and it gives you a +1/+1 counter, so... this might be... I'll say fringe playable. I can see like maybe like a Simic deck or something that has creatures. Like you have that counterspell Merfolk. That's also a creature. So if you want to be able to counter creature spells and put a counter, I can see that being okay. Eyes everywhere. This card's bizarre. 2 colorless, 1 blue enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, scry 1. And then you can pay 5 and 1 blue. Exchange control of eyes everywhere and target non-land permanent. As sorcery speed. So basically you give it to your opponent and you take one of their non-land permanents and then they can do the same to you. So if they're not playing blue, this is like okay, but like this is definitely, I would play this in limited, but I don't think it's standard playable unless there's some weird funky combo that you can do off of it. Fairy Duelist. 1 blue, 1 colorless. Dude, that picture's awesome. He's like, oh god, I'll stab you in the eyeball. Yes. 1/2 flash flying. When he duelist enters the battlefield, target creature opponent control gets -2/-0 until end turn. This is actually kind of cool. I like this design. So he's a combat trick basically, and a 1/2 flying body. So this is a really good limited card. Like this will be played in every limited deck that plays blue, like for sure. Because flyers are a premium, and then having like a flash and a combat trick effect, yeah, it's really good and limited. Probably not going to see play in standard, but I like the card design. Gateway Sneak. I mean, I could maybe see that in like the mono blue aggro decks, but I think all the other creatures are just better than that guy. Because you're not really about blocking, you're kind of just all about like just alphaing in and like killing everything. Gateway Sneak. 2 colorless, 1 blue. Whenever a gate enters the battlefield under control, Gateway Sneak can't be blocked this turn. Whenever Gateway Sneak deals combat damage to a player, draw a card for a 1/3. I could see this as a French playable, like for sure. Like I could see this in a deck specifically designed to make this guy swing through and draw cards. So we're gonna say French playable. I think it's decent in limited. You're not going to have a lot of gates, so you can't really construct your deck around this card in limited. But we're gonna say French playable. In standard, of course. Humongulous. 1 blue, 4 colorless, hexproof, 2/5. This is limited playable. It's not great. You typically want to like at least like 3 or 4 power on something that you're putting up for 5 mana, but it's decent. It's decent. So limited playable. Mass Manipulation. Okay, this card's crazy. 4 blue, 4. Okay, 4 core blue, and then double X. Gain control of X target creatures and or planeswalkers. So basically, you have to spend 4 blue and 2 extra mana, so 6 mana total to gain control of 1 planeswalker or creature. And then to get the next one, you have to spend 8 mana, and then 10 to get 3, 12 to get 4. So I could definitely see this card as a sideboard card in Standard. Like, if you're playing against another control deck and they have, like, a Planeswalker or 2 out, and, like, you're in one of those positions where, like, it's a no-win situation, this card can get you out of that situation. This card straight up, like, if you've both got a bunch of mana out, and say you've got like some counter magic backup, and you play this card and you steal one of their planeswalkers or two of their planeswalkers, like it can just completely flip the tables, and you're now in a commanding position. So I'm gonna say sideboard in standard. So XX blue. So crazy. So standard, sideboard, playable. Because like you don't want this card main deck because it just costs an insane amount of mana, and like if you're playing against aggro, it's just useless. So like even against like a mid-range deck, this card's pretty useless. Like you really don't want a card like this except in the control matchup where you know you get to play a lot of lands out, and you know it's going to go to late game. And I would definitely play this card in limited too. If you're only playing, I mean, 4 blue is actually a lot to ask in limited, but if you're playing like primarily blue, I would put this card in a limited deck because that's just a powerful effect that like will win you the game. Like sometimes even if you just take one thing, it'll win you the game. But if you take 2 things, if you have 8 mana out, like that's definitely a game changer. So I think it's includable as like a one of in limited also. You're probably only going to play one of it in like a standard sideboard too, just like a single one of. Kind of like Star of Extinction. Like Star of Extinction as a one of 7-drop card in the sideboard is very, very good against like a control matchup. Alright, Mesmerizing Benthid. We got an Octopus. 3 colorless, 2 blue, 4/5. When Benthid enters the battlefield, create 2/0/2 blue illusion token creatures with whenever this creature blocks a creature, that creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Mesmerizing Benthid has hexproof as long as you control an illusion. Okay, this is a weird card. So, if this had Flash, I would say this card is good, but like because it doesn't have Flash and you can't kind of ambush people with the illusions, then I don't think this card is that great. I think it's alright. I don't really think it's... I think it's good in... limited for sure, but and you're definitely going to include it in any limited deck because 5 for a 4/5 is decent already, and then you get 2/0/2s out of it and like some other good stuff. But don't think it's standard playable. Don't think it's going to be seen in any kind of constructed play. Persistent Petitioners. 1 colorless, 1 blue, 1/3, 1 colorless and tap. Target player puts the top card of their library into their graveyard. Tap 4 untapped advisors you control. Target player puts the top 12 cards of their library into their graveyard. A deck can have any number of cards named Persistent Petitioners. Okay, this card's kind of weird. This is another one of those like funky like deck strategies, like a mill strategy, putting a bunch of these guys in your deck. I don't know if there's any other advisors. There's probably like at least an advisor or two in standard right now, but this card's it's pretty bad. Until you play with or are milled by turn 5. Yeah, it's possible. It's possible, but I don't think it's really standard playable, so we're not going to write that one down. I wouldn't even probably play that card in limited. It's just not... a 2 for a 1/3 is just not great. Precognitive Perception. 2 blue, 3 colorless, instant speed. Draw 3 cards. Addendum. If you cast a spell during your main phase, instead scry 3, then draw 3. Okay, this card's pretty powerful. It's pretty powerful. Like... this card I could definitely see as like a one of in constructed standard for like control decks. I mean, you have the Chemister's Insight, which is really good, 4 for 2 cards, and then you can jumpstart it. But this card lets you dig deep. If you play this on your main phase, you get to look at 6 cards. That's like insane digging power. That's like what's that the other card that got banned from Legacy? Dig Through Time, and it got limited. Like Dig Through Time, I think let you look at 7 cards, and you get 2 out of 7. And that card was, and it had Delve. That card was just insane. So I think this card is definitely standard playable, and I think you would definitely play this card in limited too. Precognitive Perception. 3 blue, standard playable. Yeah, it's got a really cool picture too, so yeah. Prying Eyes. Instant speed, 4 colorless, 2 blue, draw 4 cards, then discard 2 cards. Okay, this card I think is just strictly worse than that other card. So I don't think this card is going to see standard play, but I could definitely play one of these in a limited deck. Because it's not terrible. The other cards are rare, so like you're probably not going to get it in limited, but Prying Eyes you could definitely see. So I could definitely play one of those in limited. Terramander. 1 blue, Salamander Drake, a 1/1 flyer. And for 7 colorless and a blue, you can adapt 4. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. Okay, this card's really good. I like this card. I like the design on this card. This is a really good in limited, because in limited you want, you know, cards that are playable early game and late game. And this card is kind of like a 2-in-1. So like you get to put it out as a 1/1 flyer for 1 blue, which is great. And then adapt it late game and make it a 5/5 flyer. And even like you could even get this out sooner because it's 1 less to activate for instant and sorcery. So this might even be playable in standard. So I'm gonna say this is standard playable. Like I could definitely see like you cantripping a bunch, opting, you know, filling your graveyard up with instants and sorcerers, and then just like adapting this guy on like turn 4, and then boom, I've got a 5/5 flyer like coming at you. Like, yeah, I like this guy. And he's just like premium uncommon in limited for sure. So I think this guy's standard playable. I mean, you have to kind of design a deck that he goes in, but like I think he's powerful enough to be played in standard. Like that guy might, you know what? This guy might even be like modern playable. Like I can see this guy being played in modern. Like if you get it down to like 1 blue to adapt, like that's insane. Like I can see this guy maybe even in Legacy. Like Delver decks, like Delver of Secrets, you know, that card who's a 1 blue for a 1/1, and then if you at your start of your upkeep you reveal the top card, and if it's an instant or sorcery it flips into a 3/2 flyer. Like this card could be in that deck too, like as like a 2 of maybe. And they fill their graveyards up quickly because all the cantrips cost 1 blue, you know, like all of them do. So like if you get like 5 in the graveyard, and then you only have to spend like 2 or 3 mana to like make this a 5/5, you know, okay, we're gonna say this is all formats playable. I'm gonna go ahead and say all formats playable right here. I'm doing it. I just did it. All right. Like this card could be insanely good. Like this card could be great in like Legacy and like Modern. Like, and if it gets removed, it gets removed. Yeah, it's only a 1/1 flyer, but like if someone has to aim a removal spell at it, then okay, so be it. Like, and you've got Thought Scour too, which like, you know, puts cards into your graveyard. Yeah, this card's got potential. I'm gonna put maybe in parentheses. I don't know. Some people might think I'm an idiot for saying that, but I think that card has some serious power possibility. Quench. Okay. 1 blue, 1 colorless, instant, counter target spell unless its controller pays 2 colorless. This card is great in standard. Like, this card will definitely get played in standard. In all control decks, it will probably be a 4 of, because 2-cost counter magic that counters anything is a premium in standard. Like, a premium. Like, anytime Mana Leak is reprinted, like, same cost for counter a spell unless its controller pays 3 colorless, like, always a 4 of. Every time. 100%. And even though it's only 2 of, it's still 100%. This is probably the best counter magic that's going to be in standard, just because it's cheap, it's 1 blue, and it counters anything. Like you got to start worrying about counter magic on turn frickin' 2, which usually is not a thing in standard. Usually the only counter magic you have access to in standard at 2 cost is specific, like non-creature. or just creature. This is anything. So this is definitely going to be a standard staple. So that's standard playable. Cards like this in limited are decent. You can play with them. Counter Magic's not always that great, but I mean, if you're on the play, it's definitely better. So you can play it in limited too. Like I see people use Counter Magic in limited sometimes. Sage's Rose Savant. 1 colorless, 1 blue, 2/1. When he enters the battlefield, scry 2. This guy's a decent 2-drop body for limited. He's not gonna see any play in standard, but decent unlimited. Senate Courier. 1 blue, 2 colorless, flying, 1/4. For a white and a colorless, Senate Courier gains vigilance until end of turn. This guy's okay. I think he's great in limited. Like a 1/4 flyer for 3 is great in limited. Probably not going to see play in standard. I can't see this card being played in standard. Shimmer of Possibility. 1 blue, 1 colorless, sorcery speed. Look at the top 4 cards of your library, put 1 of them in your hand and the rest on the bottom of your hand in a random order. That's like Impulse. Except Impulse is instant speed. This is like a sorcery speed Impulse. That's actually pretty good. Being able to dig 4 cards for 2 mana is pretty good. I'm going to say this is standard playable. And you could even play... you can play this in limited definitely too. Like this card's not terrible for limited. Skatewing Spy. 1 blue, 3 colorless. 2/3 for a blue and 5. You can adapt to each creature you control with ++1 counter on it has flying. This creature is great in limited. Again, probably not going to see this. I think this is the blue version of that white creature that gives all your flyers +0/+1. They all cost 4. Yeah, I think this is good in limited for sure. Probably not going to see constructed play. Skitter Eel. 1 blue, 3 colorless for a 3/3 that can adapt to for a blue and 2 colorless. It's okay in limited. Turns into a 5/5. You can play that in limited for sure. Not in standard though. Slime Bind. 1 blue, 1 colorless, flash, enchant creature gets -4, -0. These enchantments that give minus to attack are typically not good unless they give you something else. This is kind of like a concept they've had for blue-esque removal that's not really removal. Like the last one that was actually played in standard was in Ether Revolt, and it was an enchantment. It had flash. It gave -4, -0, but it also gave you like 4 energy, I believe, too. So it like gave you something in addition to doing its effect. Like if this drew you a card, if this said like draw a card, which I think they've made versions of this that you draw a card also, then it would be worth playing. Otherwise, I think this card's not very good. It's like a combat trick. I mean, you can include it in a limited deck if you don't have a better card to put in, but I think that's about as good as it gets. Sphinx of Foresight. Okay, this card's pretty badass. I like this card. 2 blue, 2 colorless, 4/4, flying. You may reveal this card from your opening hand. If you do, scry 3 at the beginning of your first upkeep. So this is pretty crazy. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you get to scry 1. So basically, it's in a Search for Azcanta effect. You get to scry every upkeep. On top of it being a 4/4 flyer for 4. On top of that, if it's in your opening hand, you get to scry 3 on the top of your deck. Like, that's so good. Like, this card is definitely going to see standard play. Like, 100%. And this card's great in limited, of course. 4 for a 4/4 flyer and all those other abilities is just great. Probably not going to see play in Modern. Even though Modern is like the 4 mana format, you don't typically play cards that cost more than 4 mana. Actually, it might get played in Modern. We're going to say Standard, Playable, maybe Modern. Because it has a lot of effects. Like, this creature has a lot of effects. I could see this as like a fringe, maybe, oh, we'll say maybe Modern Fringe playable. Because it's got some powerful effects. Being able to scry every turn. I mean, it is a creature, so chances are it's going to get removed pretty quick, but being able to do this pre-game effect is crazy. Like, being able to scry 3. I can see this in a combo deck. Like, you're playing a combo deck that you're trying to get, like, assemble pieces of the combo, and being able to scry 3 is just let you get closer to that combo. Maybe one of those combo pieces is right there on the top 3, and you need it. So that card's definitely could possibly be paid in Modern. I don't know, though. Probably won't get. I'm guessing it won't be played, but it might. Alright, Swirling Torrent. 1 blue, 5 colorless, sorcery. Choose one or both. Put target creature on top of its owner's library. Return target creature to its owner's hand. Okay, these 2-for-1 effects like this are great and limited when they're expensive like this, but I don't think this is going to be standard playable. But this is definitely a decent, powerful card late game in a limited match, so I can definitely see putting one of those in a limited deck. Alright, Thought Collapse. So this is more counter magic. There's so much counter magic in standard right now. 2 blue, 1 colorless, instant counter target spells. Controller puts the top 3 cards of their library into their graveyard. Okay, this is like another like mill card. I don't think this card is going to get played. I think all the other counter magic is better than this card. You got the Surveil counter spell. You've got Ionize. You've got the new Quench. I don't think this card's going to get played. And I don't think it's good in limited either. Verity Circle. 2 colors, 1 blue. Enchantment. Whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes tapped, if it isn't being declared as an attacker, you may draw a card. And then 4 on a colorless, or 1 blue and 4 colorless, tap target creature without flying. Okay, this card's pretty sweet. I think this card is really good in limited. I don't know how playable this is in standard. Because 5 mana is a lot to be paying to tap a creature without flying. I mean, you get to draw cards off it at that point, but this takes a long time to set up, and against creature decks, like, they're not going to give you this much time to set up, so, like, this is a kind of one of those cards that's, like, sounds good. It sounds like it's a good playable card, but in practice, this probably is not going to keep you alive. If creatures are bearing down on you, you're going to want to remove those creatures, so once all the creatures are gone, and then you play this card, then there's nothing to tap, so, like, I think this card is kind of like a catch-22. I don't think you're gonna see a lot of play with this card. I don't think it's really standard playable. I mean, it might be, but I'm not going to put it down. I think 5 mana is too much. If it were only like 3 mana to tap a creature without flying, I think this card would be definitely playable, but 5 mana is a lot. That is a lot. And you're spending your whole turn basically just tapping one creature, so I don't think it's that great. Wall of Lost Thoughts. 1 blue, 1 colorless, 0/4 defender. When Wall of Lost Thoughts enters the battlefield, target player puts the top 4 cards of the library into their graveyard. Okay, this is another mill card. Don't think this card is good. I mean, it might fit into a mill deck if that becomes a thing, but mill decks notoriously are just not very good. So we're not going to put that card down either. That's not even a good card in limited either, really. You don't want mill effects in limited, because you're never going to have enough to get the job done. Windstorm Drake, 4 colorless and a blue, flying, 3/3. Other creatures you control with flying get +1/+0. Okay, this guy's decent. Like, this is a really good limited card if you're playing, you know, blue flyers. So definitely going to include that in your limited deck if you pull it. Not in constructed though. Okay, that was the last blue card. Okay, so now we're on to black. Awaken the Erstwhile. Okay, this card's pretty interesting. 2 black, 3 colorless, sorcery speed. Each player discards all the cards in their hand, then creates that many 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. Okay, this card is very interesting. This card could either be game-winning or just not do very much. Like, I feel like if you have some kind of Lord effect, or there's the artifact that gives a creature type +1/+1 for 5. I forgot the name of the card. That's in standard right now. If you have one of those out for zombies, then all your zombies are 3/3s and theirs are only 2/2s. But you gotta kind of have like something else like going on to make this card very powerful. I think if you just cast it like and there's nothing in place, then it just makes zombies for both players. Like, I mean, I guess against like a control player that might be good, because you know you get rid of all their powerful cards and just turn them into 2/2 zombies. But I mean, it's kind of risky because, like, I mean, if they end up having like, you know, more zombies than you, like they got more cards in their hand than you or something, and like they just end up like swinging in and having 2 zombies left, then you got like these 2 zombies to deal with, and then you're top decking basically at that point, and it's whoever's got the better top decks, and pretty much like control decks are going to have more powerful top decks than you for the most part. They're going to have like card drawing cards and like 2-for-1s, and like, yeah, I don't, this card's a big maybe. This card could be very impactful, or it could be just terrible. So we're not going to write it down. It's just a very risky card that you probably don't want to play even in limited. I mean, in limited, you can like stack up your lands. If you're drawing a bunch of lands, it can turn your lands into 2/2 zombie creatures. So maybe you want to play one of, if you happen to get it. I don't know. It's a hard card to judge. I mean, in certain situations it can be very, very good. In certain situations it can be very, very detrimental. So, all right, Bankrupt in Blood. 1 colorless, 1 black. Sorcery speed. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice 2 creatures. Draw 3 cards. Okay, this card's not very good. I would not play this card in limited or constructed. It's got badass artwork though. Seb McKinnon, dude, I love this guy. Great artwork. Blade Juggler, 1 black, 4 colorless. Spectacle for 2 colorless, 1 black. And Spectacle, you could cast it for its Spectacle cost if opponent lost life. So like Rakdos, and like it's this new effect for Rakdos that like lets you play for cheaper if they take damage, because it's designed for like aggro type or burn decks. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to you and you draw a card. It's alright. It's alright. I can see this in standard. We'll say this is standard French playable. I could definitely play this in. I would play that in limited too. If you're putting out a 3/2 for 3 and drawing a card off of it, that's really good. I mean, you have to deal the damage to them, so we'll say it's French playable. Blade Brand. It's such awesome artwork. I love the Rakdos pictures. 1 black, 1 colorless, instant speed. Target creature gains death touch until end of turn. Draw a card. This card's good in limited. I wouldn't play that card in standard, though. This is not like a true removal. Blood Mist Infiltrator. That's an awesome picture. 1 black, 2 colorless, 3/1. When Blood Mist Infiltrator attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, Blood Mist Infiltrator can't be blocked. This is good in limited. Probably not going to see standard play. I mean, being a 3/1 in limited is not great either, but because it basically just dies to any 1-drop, any 2-drop. So, but I mean, if you're going in for like the last couple attacks and you can just sneak in like 6 points of damage, I could see it being worth playing. But Carrion Imp, 1 black, 3 colorless, 2/3 flying. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile target creature card from a graveyard. If you do, gain 2 life. I Again, that's limited playable. It's decent. 2/3 flyer for 4 is okay with an ability to gain you some life. Non-standard though. Catacomb Crocodile, 3/7 vanilla for 4 colorless and 1 black. You could play it. You could play one of at least in a limited deck. But limited is where that card stays. Clear the stage. 1 black, 4 colorless. Instant. Target creature gets -3/-3 until end of turn. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, you may return up to 1 target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So it's Ferocity. This is Ferocity, although they're not calling it Ferocity. I think this card is great for limited. I do not think it will be played in constructed. Consign to the Pit. 5 colorless, 1 black. Sorcery speed. Destroy target creature. Consign to the Pit deals 2 damage to that creature's controller. Again, that's a decent. It's an okay removal for limited. 6/6 for a sorcery is pretty much the worst you're gonna find for removal in limited, but you're still probably gonna play with it, depending on how fast the format is. So yeah, so removal's a removal. Not the greatest. Cry of the Carnarium. Wow. 2 black, 1 colorless. Sorcery. All creatures get -2/-2 until end of turn. Exile all creature cards in all graveyards that were put there from the battlefield this turn. If a creature would die this turn, exile it instead. It's a black board wipe. It's kind of like Gold Demise. But Gold Demise gets better if you have the City's Blessing, so... I don't think there's anything with 2 toughness that needs to be exiled, because, like, Rekindling Phoenix... Oh, it gets rid of Arclight Phoenix, actually. So, yeah, this is sideboard playable. Standard sideboard playable. Dead Rebels. 1 black, 3 colorless. God, I love the artwork. The quote, "You're only dead as you feel." You can play Spectacle cost for 1 black, 1 colorless. Return 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. That's not bad. That's not bad. That's great for limited. Really good for limited. That might be French standard play. We'll put French. It might just be trash, but getting 2 creatures back, a 2 for 1 for 2 is pretty damn good. So if you're playing a Rakdos aggro deck, like, I can see this card definitely be played. Debtor's Transport. Dude, that creature's crazy looking. 5 colorless and 1 black. Creature. Oh, it's a Thrall. They're bringing Thralls back. 5/3 Afterlife too. This is a good limited creature for sure, but yeah, not constructed. Drill Bit. Okay, this card's pretty good. 1 black, 2 colorless, sorcery speed. Spectacle for 1 black. 1. Target player reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it. That player discards that card. So it's basically Thoughtseize off of Spectacle. And you don't lose 2 life. So, never boring is the quote. And it's an uncommon. I'm definitely going to pick up 4 of these. It's probably not going to be played in Modern just because Inquisition and Thoughtseize are just better. You don't have to do damage, so you can play it on turn 1. This card's definitely standard playable, though. So... Oh, we didn't put the colors in. That's 3 and a black. And it was Cry of the Carnarium. That was 2 black, 1 colorless. Drill bit. They call me Drill Bit. Font of Agonies. 1 black enchantment. Whenever you pay life, put that many blood counters on Font of Agonies. 1 black, 1 colorless, remove 4 blood counters from Font of Agonies, destroy target creature. Okay, this card's very interesting. I don't think this card is playable in Standard, but this card might be playable in Modern in a deck called Grixis Death Shadow. Because that deck pays a ton of life. Like, Fetch land, you're paying 1 life. Shock land, you're paying 2 life. So basically, it fetch shocks pretty much at least 2 or 3 times a game. So that's paying life at least 4 to 6 times. And you put that many counters on Font of Agony. So this means... Wait. Okay, so it's the amount of life you do. So if you fetch shock twice, that's 6 counters on it. This might be playable. I mean, if you play this turn 1, like... I mean, you're gonna have to get 8 counters on it. You're gonna have to... It's gonna have to be a 2-for-1 for it to be worthwhile. Otherwise, Fatal Push is just better in every way. But we're gonna say Fringe. Just because. I mean, someone might break this card. Like, if you can kill 2 things from it. So we're going to say Modern Fringe. Modern Fringe playable. And we're going to put maybe. We're not sure on this one. This card could be good, but it probably is not good in test. But if you can kill 2 things with it, then it's definitely worthwhile. The game that you kill 2 things with it. It's definitely worthwhile. Alright, Grotesque Demise. 2 colors, 1 black. Exile target creature with power 3 or less. Ooh, an exile effect for black, and it's instant speed. Okay, this card's pretty good. This card might even be playable in Standard. It's definitely really good in Limited. You're going to play it every time. So we'll say... And it's instant speed, so yeah, we'll say Standard playable. Why not? It's an exile effect. I mean, it's limited targets, but like, it's instant speed. I mean, you're gonna, maybe it's more of a sideboard card. We'll say Standard sideboard playable. Because you have Moment of Craving, which is like the go-to, like gain 2 life for -2/-2 on a creature for 2 mana instant speed. That's pretty much like the gold standard to stop aggro decks. It's really, really good. But this could kill slightly bigger stuff. It's based on power, not toughness, which is slightly worse because you can't get like a Jade Light 4/3 with it, but I think it's sideboard playable, definitely. Gutter Bones. 1 black for a 2/1. That it enters the battlefield tapped, not really relevant. And then 1 black, 1 colorless, return Gutter Bones from your graveyard to your hand. Activate this ability only during your turn, only if an opponent lost life. This card's really good. Like, this card's good in Limited, and I think it's Standard playable too. We're not doing the casting costs. Font of Agony was just 1 black. Yeah. Ill-Gotten Inheritance. 1 black, 3 colorless, enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, Ill-Gotten Inheritance deals 1 damage to each opponent and you gain 1 life. 1 black and 5 colors. Sacrifice Ill-Gotten Inheritance. It deals 4 damage to target opponent, and you gain 4 life. Okay, this card is, I think, is decent. Now, I think this is really good in Limited, because a lot of times you'll get, like, just big pile up of creatures on both sides, and it'll just kind of be like a, you know, standoff. And if this card's in play, this just gives you a clock, and, like, it's a pretty good clock. But in Standard, I think a 4-cost enchantment that doesn't really affect the board is probably not good enough. I mean, if you land this against a control deck, like, good times, we'll say... and like a burn deck, if you're playing like a Rakdos burn deck and you throw this bad boy out and you get it past their counter magic against a control player, we'll say sideboard French playable. I think it's definitely a card that you would want to play against control and nothing else. Noxious Grudion. 1 black, 2 colors, 2 Death Touch. It's okay. It's limited playable. That's about it. Orzhov Enforcer. 1 black, 1 colorless, 1/2 Death Touch with Afterlife 1. This card is actually not bad. It's definitely limited playable. It might be fringy, you know, standard. We're not going to write it down because it's probably not playable. But getting a 1/1 flyer out of the deal is always good. Orzhov Racketeers. 1 black, 4 colorless. Whenever Orzhov Racketeers deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card. Afterlife 2, and it's a 3/2. I think this card's limited playable, but that's it. That's it. Pestilent Spirit. 1 black, 2 colorless. Menace and Death Touch. Instant and sorcery spells you control have Death Touch. This guy's pretty good. He's got Menace, so you have to double block him, and then he just kills both creatures that block him. That seems decent. That's definitely insanely good in Limited. And I could see this in a Rakdos deck in Standard. Yeah, we'll say that's Standard playable. And if you play... I guess that doesn't affect Chain Whirler, but... you could play, we'll say Standard French playable. I don't know if this guy's actually going to be that great. I mean, Menace and Death Touch is pretty good. But he's only a 3/2. We'll say French playable. Plague White. 1 black, 1 colorless. Whenever Plague White becomes blocked, each creature blocking it gets -1/-1 until end of turn. And he's a zombie. I think this is a decent limited card. Probably not going to see constructed play. It's got flanking. That ability is called flanking, by the way. But apparently that's not a keyword they use anymore. Priest of Forgotten Gods. 1 black, 1 colorless, 1/2. Tap, sacrifice 2 other creatures. Any number of target players each lose 2 life and sacrifice a creature. You add 2 black mana and draw a card. This is like a EDH card. Yeah, I don't think this card's playable in really any format. Except for EDH. Because it hits everyone, but Rakdos Trumpeter. 1 black, 1 colorless. Menace 1/3. For 1 red and 3 colors, Rakdos Trumpeter gets +2/+0 until end of turn. I think this card's really good and limited. Other than that, I don't think it's playable. Spawn of Mayhem. Now this guy's a beast. Okay, this guy's a beast. 2 black, 2 colorless, but he has spectacle cost of 2 black, 1 colorless. Flying Trample 4/4. At the beginning of your upkeep, Spawn of Mayhem deals 1 damage to each player. Then, if you have 10 or less life, put a +1/+1 counter on Spawn of Mayhem. This guy is bonkers. He is absolutely standard playable. He's probably going to be a standard staple in Rakdos and, like, you know, Suicide Black style decks. He is very, very good. And not only that, his ability triggers Spectacle. So anytime you want to play a Spectacle card, if he's in play, it just automatically triggers, like, before combat during your upkeep on your turn. Like, this guy might almost be modern playable. Like, putting out a 4/4 Flying Trample for 3 mana is very, very strong. Like, and the fact that he deals 1 damage to each player. So he's got this, like, extra thing that's ticking your life. Oh, he's already $15. Yeah, this guy's going to be good. This guy might even be modern playable. We'll put modern, maybe, with a question mark. Yeah, he's really good. And, of course, you're going to play him in limited every time. Twice on Sunday. Spire Mangler. 1 black, 2 colorless. 2/1 flash flying. When Spire Mangler is the battlefield, target creature with flying you control gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Okay, so he can, like, ambush a 4 toughness flyer on the block. Or just buff up something that's attacking. This guy's really good. Limited card, probably not constructed. Thirsting Shade. 1 black, lifelink, 1/1. 1 black and 2, Thirsting Shade gets +1/+1 until end of turn. 3 mana for a pump effect. This card's kind of bad. I guess you could play like a 1-of in like in a limited deck, but definitely not standard. Undercity Scavenger. 1 black, 3 colorless. When Undercity Scavenger enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, put 2 +1/+1 counters on Undercity Scavenger, then scry 2. I think you could play that in limited. Not in constructed. Undercity's Embrace. 1 black, 2 colorless. Target opponent sacrifices a creature. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, you gain 4. Another Ferocity. Don't want to bring back Ferocity keyword, huh? Sacrifice effects. Sacrifice effects are good. Diabolic Edict. 1 colorless, 1 black. Instant speed came out of Tempest. I don't remember when Diabolic Edict was first printed. But yeah, that card gets played in Legacy still to this day. I mean, this costs 1 more mana. But this is definitely good in both limited and standard, so I will say. I think it's standard playable. Probably a sideboard card, but we'll just put standard playable. Whatever. It's instant speed too, right? Yeah, it's instant speed. Yeah, if it were sorcery speed, it would not be worth playing, but instant speed it is. Vindictive Vampire. 1 black, 3 colorless. Whenever another creature you control dies, Vindictive Vampire deals 1 damage to each opponent, and you gain 1 life. Wow, that's like that one guy, the Aristocrat deck. He only costed 2 though. I think this card's decent and limited, but not playable in Standard. I mean, it might be playable in Standard. Probably not. Act of Treason. Another reprint. This card's been reprinted a million times. Gain control target creature and handle on turn, untap it, it gains haste. Yep. It's like, sometimes you can play it unlimited if you've got like a super aggro deck. Sometimes it's sideboard fringe playable. We're not going to write it down. Amplifier. 2 red, 2 colorless. Creature elemental. 1/1. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Until your next turn, Amplifier's base power becomes twice that card's power, and its base toughness becomes twice that card's toughness. This is like a crazy combo card. I don't think it's going to be good. But we'll see. I'm not going to write it down. I think this card is... because you're playing this card, you're going to be playing 4 of them. So, like, you can just reveal an Amplifier with Amplifier. So, it's just kind of like a catch-22. It becomes a 2/2. So, I mean, like, you need it to be huge. Like, if you're playing, like, just this, and then you're playing just a bunch of huge shit, so it becomes, like, a 20/20 or some shit, and you swing in for the win with it, then sure. But I'm not going to write it down. I don't think it's playable. I don't think it's good enough. Burn Bright. 1 red, 2 colorless. Creatures control get +2/+0 until end of turn. It's a rally effect. It's not great. You're typically not going to play that in limited either. Burning Tree Vandal. 1 red, 2 colorless. Riot. Riot's another new ability in Ravnica Allegiant. You get, when it enters the battlefield, you get the choice of a +1/+1 counter or haste. So very good. Riot's very good for killing planeswalkers. So I'm sure that's why they added it. When it attacks, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. You can play this in limited probably, but only in limited. Cavalcade of Calamity. 1 red, 1 colorless enchantment. Whenever a creature you control with power 1 or less attacks, Cavalcade of Calamity deals 1 damage to the player or planeswalker that creature is attacking. That's actually kind of good. I mean, I could see that in like a Mardu deck. If you play like Mardu tokens, that has potential. That's not limited playable, but that might be... We're not going to write it down, because that would take a very specific deck. And if you're playing an aggro deck, you don't really want enchantments that don't do anything unless you have creatures in play. I don't know. It might be good. We're not going to write it down, though. We're only writing down cards that I strongly believe are actually going to be played. Most of which are going to be played. Like, there are a few on here that like are kind of like me wanting them to be playable, but oh, we didn't do this. Shimmer of Possibility. I didn't write that one down either. Alright, Clamor Shaman. One red, 2 colorless, 1/1, Riot. Whenever Clamor Shaman attacks, target creature and opponent controls can't block this turn. Huh? Huh? That's pretty good. That's definitely limited playable. It might be standard playable, and I'm not going to write it down. 3 for a 2/2 is eh. That ability is really good, but yeah, 3 for a 2/2. If it were a 3/2, then we're getting somewhere. 2/2, not really worth it. Dagger Caster. 1 red, 3 colorless, 2/3. Dude, that's badass. He's got like 2 floating daggers. He's gonna like throw at your face. Hell yeah. Yes, his quote is "Keep coming. I have knives enough for everyone." Hell yeah. When Daggercaster enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to each opponent and 1 damage to each creature your opponent controls. Wow. So they made like another Chain Whirler Okay, it doesn't hit planeswalkers, but wow. Why would they make a second Chain Whirler in the same standard block? Okay. I think Chain Whirler is just obviously better in every way than this card. I mean, it costs 3 core red instead of 3 colorless, 1 red, but it costs 1 less mana. It's a 3/3. It has first strike, and it deals damage to planeswalkers too. So this card is pretty bad. I mean, maybe you could play it like limited, but it's not great. Even in limited, it's probably not very good. Deface. 1 red sorcery. Choose one. Destroy target artifact or destroy target creature with defender. That's pretty bad. Like sorcery speed, it's pretty bad. I don't think this card is even like sideboardable, playable, because I think there's just better removal out there for artifacts that are instant speed. I mean, even though it only costs 1, it's like whatever. Electro Dominance. Okay, this card's bonkers. 2 red X. Electro Dominance, instant speed. Electro Dominance uses X damage to any target. You may cast a card with converted mana cost X or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. So this lets you put into play suspend cards for free. So you pay 2 red and you can put any suspend card into play, basically. So Ancestral Vision, boom. Play it, draw 3 cards. Restore Balance, boom. Your cards in hand are equalized. Creatures on the board are equalized. Life totals are equalized. So you could like straight up do that like on their draw step. If these are like your last 2 cards at hand, oh, they discard their hand. Lose all their creatures. Oh yeah, lands even equalized, so like they get the same amount of lands as you, and life totals equalized. So it's like balance. This card, I'm gonna say, I don't think this is good in standard. I think this is like maybe a modern fringe playable. I like that you can like instant speed, like put stuff into play. That's kind of a cute card. I don't know if it's actually gonna... I mean, people are going to try to break it in Modern, obviously. But I don't know if it'll actually do anything. Feral Maca. 2/2 for 2. 1 red and a colorless. Yep. Vanilla 2/2. Not terribly good in any format, including limited. It's kind of a filler creature if you don't have another card to put in limited. Flames of the Raised Boar. 1 red, 5 colorless. Instant. Deals 4 damage to target creature an opponent controls. Then deals 2 damage to each other creature that player controls. If you have a creature with powerful ferocity again, fire will cure a multitude of ills. I think this is good in limited. You can clear their board off in a standstill, so I think you'd play this in a limited game, like a one-of. But that's it. Gates Ablaze. 1 red, 2 colorless. Gates Ablaze deals X damage to each creature, where X is the number of gates you control. I could see that. I could see that in standard, in like a highly specific. We're not gonna write it down, but it's kind of one of those cards that's oops, this is red. Boar Clan Wrecker. 1 red, 3 colorless. Riot. 2/2. Menace. I think it's decent in limited. That's about it. Goblin Gathering. 1 red, 2 colorless. Create a number of 1/1 red goblin creature tokens equal to 2 plus the number of cards named Goblin Gathering in your graveyard. Whoa. This card's good. It's like accumulated knowledge, but with tokens. I like it. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. 2 is a party, 3 is a felony. It's got an awesome picture and a quote too. So it creates 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then 5. I like it. I think it's good. I think if you draw 2 of them, it's definitely worth it. And if you draw 3, it's just really good. Yeah, I think this is standard playable. Limited, probably not great. 3 for just 2/2, 1 for 2/1/1's not great. So I think this is playable in standard. In like a tokeny aggro deck, yeah, for sure. And you know, you've got like Surveil, and you've got other ways to get cards in your graveyard, so maybe you could even cast it the first time for 3, which 3 for 3 tokens is really good. Like, that's totally worth it. Immolation Shaman. 1 red, 1 colorless. 1/3. Whenever an opponent activates an ability of an artifact, creature, or land that isn't a mana ability, Immolation Shaman deals 1 damage to that player. 2 red and 3. Immolation Shaman gets +2/+3 and gains menace until end of turn. Okay, this card's great for limited. Otherwise, I think this card's kind of bad. I would not play this in any constructed deck. Gravelhide Goblin. 1 red, 1 colorless, 2/1 for a green and 3. Gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Again, I think it's good and limited. I think that's where it'll stay. It's got a nice late game ability as well as being a low drop creature, so those are always typically good and limited. Light up the stage, light it up. I'm on fire. 2 colorless, 1 red, Spectacle, 1 red. Exile the top 2 cards of your library until end of the end of your next turn. You may play those cards. I think this card's good. It is basically a 2 for 1. And if you're playing a bunch of low drops like burn cards and cheap creatures, then I think it's good. And you can play lands from it too, so yep, this card's playable. Definitely give you that card advantage as a burn player or red player. This might even be like modern playable. It could be. I could see playing like one of these in a modern deck, like 1 or 2 of these. We're gonna say modern French playable. Modern Fringe playable. Maybe for just burn decks. Yeah, this card definitely has potential. Mirror March. 5 colorless, 1 red. Enchantment. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, flip a coin until you lose a flip. For each flip you won, create a token that's a copy of that creature. Those tokens gain haste, exile at the beginning of the next end step. This card's cute. It's cute. I don't think it's playable anywhere. You need as few coin flip effects in Magic decks as possible. Rix Mahdi Reveler. 1 red, 1 colorless, 2/2. Spectacle for 2 colorless, 1 black, 1 red. When Rix Mahdi Reveler comes into the battlefield, discard a card, then draw a card. If the spectacle cost was played, instead discard your hand and draw 3 cards. This card's great. I think this is definitely, it's great in limited. I think it's definitely playable in standard. It's like Bedlam Reveler, which of course they use the suffix Reveler for this guy too, because he's basically got the same effect, is discard your hand and draw 3 cards. So I think Bedlam Reveler is just strictly better in in a format like Modern. So I think this guy's just standard playable. Rubble Reading. 1 red, 3 colorless. That's a cool picture. Destroy target sorcery speed. Destroy target land. Scry 2. Land destruction for 4 is a hugely reprinted thing. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's good in limited. I don't think it's good in constructed. I just think it's not good. It's kind of always one of those effects that they always reprint. And it's just never very good. Rubble Belt Recluse. 4 colorless, 1 red, 6/5. Attack these combat of Fable. Huh? I could see playing one of these in limited, but typically you don't want creatures that have to attack every turn, because then you just end up like losing them to stuff you don't want to lose them to. Losing them to unfavorable blocks and such. But I could see one in limited. I wouldn't play that in constructed. Rumbling Ruin. 5 colorless, 1 red, 6/6. When it enters the battlefield, count the number of +1/+1 counters and creature control. Creatures your opponent control with power less than or equal to that number can't block this turn. Definitely good in limited. Probably not going to see constructed play. Scorchmark. Oops. 1 red, 1 colorless. Scorch instant. Scorchmark deals 2 damage to target creature. If that creature would die, exile it instead. That's probably going to get played as a sideboard card. And it's good in limited for sure, because it's removal. Instant speed removal for 2. Standard sideboard playable. So this comes in against, you know, Phoenix, Arclight Phoenix, and even against like Rekindling Phoenix, if you play like Chain, if you happen to have 5 mana, or you have Firebrand, dude, Fanatical Firebrand, dude, the guy's so good. He's just a 1/1 for 1 with haste, but you can sack him to deal 1 to anything. So if you Scorchmark a Rekindling Phoenix and hit it with a Fanatical Firebrand, boom, it's exiled. So yeah, definitely going to see lots of play with that card in red decks. Skargan Hellkite. That thing's bizarre looking. Got crazy horns on him. I think that would look better if it didn't have the horns. 2 red, 3 colorless, 4/4, Riot, Flying. 1 red and 3 colorless, Skargan Hellkite deals 2 damage divided as you choose among 1 or 2 targets. Activate this ability only if Skargan Hellkite has a +1/+1 counter on it. So yeah, this guy's really good. Like, if you need him to be haste and you just need to kill a planeswalker, like, straight up, boom, you can do that. If not, he's coming out as a 5/5 that has a busted-ass ability. 2 damage divided, I mean, any 2 targets, so that hits planeswalkers, too. Any target planeswalker is targetable now. So that can go player, planeswalker, creature. Yeah, that's good. That's good. That'll get played. In standard. I mean, no, you're not going to play 5-drop, you know, just 5-drop creatures in like Modern and Legacy typically. They'd have to be really, really good. But he's definitely probably going to see standard play. That's going to be like a 1 or 2 of in like an aggro-y deck or mid-range. It's a very powerful creature. Okay, Skewer the Critics. Oh my god, it's so good. He's throwing a Candle Abra with a spear in the middle of it at like the audience, basically. It's so awesome. I love the artwork. 1 red, 2 colorless, Spectacle, 1 red. Skewer the Critics deals 3 damage to any target. Okay, there's a lot of hype for this card. A lot of people think this card is going to replace Skullcrack in modern burn decks, because Skullcrack costs 1 red, 1 colorless, and it deals 3 damage and prevents healing to a player. This, however, is another 1 mana 3 damage to any target. So, like, even though it's sorcery speed, most people think this card is just strictly better because it's cheaper. It's any target. You can target creatures with it or planeswalkers, and yeah. So this card, Skewer the Critics. It might even be. It's probably not. Nah, I think you have way more options in Legacy, so we'll just say standard and modern playable. Yep, card's great. I'm gonna pick up 4 of them. Smelt Ward Ignis. 1 red, 1 colorless, 2/1. 1 red, 2 colorless. Sacrifice it. Gain control of target creature with power 3 or less until it untap it. Gains haste. Sorcery speed. Yeah, this is basically a reduced powered act of treason on a creature. So I think this is really good for limited, but that's about it. Because he's a 2/1 for 2. And then you could possibly use him later in the game. So I think he's good and limited, but probably not constructed. If he were actually an act of treason, then I would say he's like you could steal anything of any power. Then I'd say he's standard playable, but with the you know limitations on it being 3 power or less, it's not worth it. Spear Spewer, 1 red, 0/2 defender. Spear Spewer deals 1 damage to each player. Okay, so that hits you too, but it activates Spectacle. I don't think this card's really playable in any deck. You would have to have a heavy Spectacle, like limited deck, for that card to be any good. I'm gonna go ahead and say that card's not worth playing in any format. Maybe like you have some super fast, you know, limited aggro deck, and you're just like boom, dealing it. That thing could end up dealing a lot of damage on its own, and as long as they're lower life than you, it doesn't matter that you're taking damage too. But it's a defender. Oh, I guess that's fine. If it's dealing, maybe limited, Spike Wheel Acrobat, 5/2 for 3 and 1, 1 red, 3 colorless, and Spectacle for 1 red, 2 colorless. It's an awesome picture, but I can see that being played unlimited. It costs 1 cheaper if you damage them. 5/2 is pretty shitty though. Like a 2-drop trades with it, so not great. I'd probably not play this card in any format. Storm Strike. 1 red, instant. Target creature gets +1/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. Scry 1. I think that's good in limited. And that's it. It's a combat trick that lets you scry 1. It's not bad. I mean, removal's always better, but it's not bad. 10 Street Dodger. 1 red, 1/1 haste. Pay 1 red, 10 Street Dodger can't be blocked this turn except by creatures with Defender. I can see this guy in a Goblin deck. You're probably not going to be playing this in a... We'll say French standard playable. say French playable. I can see him in a Goblin deck for sure. But I wouldn't even play that in limited though. 1/1s for 1 are just not good. You have to have a whole theme based around him for him to shine. Oh, we're on to green. We at green. He's a vanilla 3/4 for 3 colorless and 1 green. Yeah, you can play like one of those in limited. It's pretty crappy, but yeah. If you need a 4-drop slot filled, he's your man. Biogenic Ooze. 2 green, 3 colorless, 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 green ooze token. At the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on each ooze you control. So basically, if you don't get it, if it doesn't get removed, then it's 2 3/3s for 5. And then if it doesn't get removed again, it's 2 4/4s. And then you can pay 3 green and 1 and create a 2/2 ooze. I think this is decent. I think this is decent. I think this is standard playable. And of course you're going to play it in limited, like for sure. I'll say standard playable. I can see this card being played. I mean, 2 creatures for 1 is always good. I don't know how good, but I mean, cards get worth $6 already, so I think it might be decent. I mean, it's definitely one of those cards that if it goes unchecked, you just lose the game. Like, you create an ooze, oh, they all become, then you got, what, 2 4/4s and a 3/3? Yep, that card gets out of hand. Biogenic Upgrade. 2 green, 4 colorless. Distribute 3 +1/+1 counters among 1, 2, or 3 creatures, and double the number of +1/+1 counters on each of those creatures. Sorcery speed, so not great. I mean, this card's okay. Probably not going to see play. It's alright in limited, too. It's not great. I mean, it can be good. Like, don't get me wrong. If you have, like, a limited deck that's got a bunch of counter creatures in it, then you double them all. You could make your team really huge and just swing for the win. But I think your deck has to be very specific for that. And I don't think a deck like that would be good in Standard, per se. Because it does cost 6 mana, which is kind of asking a lot. Enray's Forerunners. 3 green, 5 colorless. Vigilance, Trample, Haste. 7/7. When Enray's Forerunners enters the battlefield, other creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain Vigilance and Trample. This, with Ramp, I could definitely see being played in Standard. And I think it's good in Limited, too, because it's just gigantic. It's a finisher. I'm going to say playable, and like well, we'll say French playable. It has to be like a ramp deck, a specific ramp deck, that wants to, you know, ramp into him and just alpha swing for the win. But there's so many, like, board wipes and, like, you know, Settle the Wreckage is just busted, like... So we're just going to call it Fringe. Enraged Ceratok. 2 green, 2 colorless, 4/4. Enraged Ceratok can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. I think that's a great limited card. 4 for 4/4 is great. And the can't be blocked is good. Probably not going to see play in Standard, even though it is a decent ratio. Gatebreaker Ram. 1 green, 2 colorless, 2/2. Gatebreaker Ram gets +1/+1 for each gate you control. As long as you control 2 or more gates, Gatebreaker Ram has vigilance and trample. Maybe. 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 This thing gets pretty beast when you have 2 out. 4/4 vigilance trample for 3. We'll say maybe. I'm not going to write it down, but I mean, you could definitely play that in limited too if you have a bunch of gates, but we're not going to write it down. Gift of Strength. +3/+3 and gains reach until end of turn. That's good in limited. I don't think it's going to be played in modern or in standard. Combat tricks like that are just typically not good enough for like constructed magic. Growth Chamber Guardian. 1 green, 1 colorless for a 2/2. He can adapt 2 for 1 green and 2 colorless. Whenever one or more +1/+1 counters are put on Growth Chamber Guardian, you may search your library for a card named Growth Chamber Guardian, reveal it, and put it in your hand. That's decent. And he's an Elf Crab Warrior. I can see him being played in mod or in standard. He's good in modern, or he's good in limited too. Because he becomes a 4/4 and he's only a 2-drop, so just that ability alone is good. But I think he's standard playable because you can play 4 of him. So if you get a 2-for-1 out of him, that's great. Rule Beastmaster. 1 green, 3 colors, 2/2. Riot. Whenever Rule Beastmaster attacks another target creature you control, gets +X/+0, where X is Rule Beastmaster's power. I think it's decent. I think it's limited playable. You definitely probably want to put it out with Riot. So that it gives +3 attack to someone. But I could see you just like if you need that extra like 2 damage to like kill a planeswalker or something. Okay, he's definitely good in. I think this is definitely good in limited. Probably not good enough for standard. Guardian Project. 1 green, 3 colorless. Enchantment. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it doesn't have the same name as another creature you control or a creature card in your graveyard, draw a card. Okay, that's weird. I'm gonna go ahead and say this card's not worth playing. It's definitely in some weird like combo deck or something. Yeah, I don't think it's that good. I mean, it's card draw for green, but 4-drop enchantment. If it were cheaper, it might be decent. If it were like a 2-drop, but a 4-drop, I don't think it's gonna get there. Maybe it's like a sideboard card. We're not gonna write it down though. Incubation Druid. 1 green, 1 colorless, 0/2. Add 1 mana of any type that a land you control could produce. If it has +1/+1 counter, add 3 mana of that type instead. This guy's pretty good. And he can adapt 3 for 5. I like this guy. He's definitely limited playable. I think he's standard playable too. He's a ramp card and he produces mana of anything your lands can produce, so that's pretty good. And he has that in later game effect to become a creature for the beatdowns. Sure, sign me up. Mammoth Spider. 3/5 reach for 5. I think it's good in limited. That's all it's gonna see. Open the gates. Search your library for 1 green, search your library for a basic land card or gate, reveal it, put it in your hand, and shuffle your library. I I think it's definitely going to get used in like the gate theme decks. So we'll say fringe playable. I mean, I don't know if those decks are any good. But we'll say standard fringe playable. Because you're definitely going to play it in a gate deck if gate decks are decent. So it lets you get any land you want, basically. Rampage of the Clans. 1 green, 3 colorless, instant speed, destroy all artifacts and enchantments. For each permanent destroyed this way, its controller creates a 3/3 green centaur token. Okay. I'm not going to put that down because tranquility effects are like, it might be sideboard playable. I mean, like, I could maybe see one of those put in like a sideboard, as a sideboard slot. Sure. Fringe sideboard playable. Looks like each of the colors has an equal representation of playables. Like, at least that's good. Rampaging Rendhorn. 4 colorless, 1 green. 4/4 Riot. This is a good limited creature. That's about it. Regenesis. 2 green, 3 colorless. Instant. Return 2 target permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. I can see that being played. That's a good limited card. And I can see it fringe playable. And standard. Special deck that wants some card advantage. It would only be like a 1 of or maybe a 2 of, but I could maybe see it. Root Snare. Really? They've reprinted Fog again. No Fog decks. Criminal common damage. Yeah. I mean, this card's bad in limited. It's bad in constructed unless you have like a very, very specific deck built around Fog effects, which we have seen before. So, I mean, I'm not going to write it down, but yeah. Sagittar's Volley. Sagittar the Sagittarius. Destroy target creature with flying for 1 green, 2 colorless. Volley deals 1 damage to each creature with flying your opponent's control. That's actually kind of good. Kill that Healer Hawk in the Volley, as well as that other bigger flyer. Yeah, it's like a sideboard card. I can see that as a sideboard playable. Sure. Ceruli Caretaker. 1 green. Defender. 0/3. Tap it, untap creature control. Add 1 mana of any color. It's definitely playable in limited, but standard, not so much. You gotta tap another creature. Yeah, it's not worth it. Sorrowform Hybrid. 2/2 for 1 green, 1 colorless. Adapt 4 for 6. Yeah, it's a good limited card. I'm not going to see standard play. Silhana Wayfinder. 1 green, 1 colorless, 2/1. When Silhana Wayfinder enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature or a land card from among them and put it on the top of your library. Put the rest of them on the bottom in random order. He's alright. It doesn't draw you the card, so it's not that great. And he doesn't have Explore, so I don't know. That's probably good. That's good in limited, but probably not constructed. Probably not. Where are we? Steeple Creeper. 1 green, 2 colorless, 4/2 for a blue and 3. Steeple Creeper gains flying until end of turn. Again, decent and limited. Not going to see play in constructed. Stony Strength. 1 green. Put it instant. Put a +1 counter on target creature control. Untap that creature. That's not even that good in. That's not even that good in limited. +1/+1. I mean, it's a counter, but still. Sure. I can definitely email the list to you, Firefighter. For sure, buddy. Yeah, I wouldn't even play that card in limited. Like, just not great. If it were 2 +1/+1 counters, that'd be something, but yeah, anyone who wants this list emailed to you, I'll permit you, and you can put your email up. Well, I've always had the bot. It doesn't really do anything right now. Alright, where were we? Sylvan Brush Strider. 2 colorless, 1 green, 3/2. Enters the battlefield, gain 2 life. Yeah, it's an okay limited card. It's gonna fill, you know, your 3 drops, but that's all it's gonna be in. Territorial Boar. 1 green, 1 colorless, 2/2. Whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, Territorial Boar gets +1/+1 against Vigilance until end of turn. It's pretty much a vanilla 2/2 most of the time. So even in limited, it's not great. But I mean, you're gonna play it if you need 2 drops, so it's not terrible. But it's not a constructed card by any means. Titanic Brawl. 1 green, 1 colorless, instant. The spell costs 1 less to cast if you target a creature you control with +1/+1 counter on it. Target creature you control fights another creature you don't control. I think Rabid Bite is just better than this card, so I would say this card is not playable. I'd say it's playable in limited because it's removal, and removal is a premium in limited, but not for constructed. Okay, Tower Defense. 1 colorless, 1 green, instant. Creatures to control get +0/+5 and gain reach until end of turn. Yeah, not a great card. These super defensive cards that don't really gain you anything, not typically good. Not good in limited either. Trollbred Guardian. 1 green, 4 colorless, 5/5. Adapt 2 for 3, or for 1 green, 2 colorless. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has trample. Oh, this must be the green version of the uncommons. So this is really, really good in limited. It's probably still not good enough in constructed because it costs 5. I don't know. It might be. I mean, like if you have a counters, like a Cynic counters deck, this might be good enough because it gives everything trample. So I'm not gonna write it down, but it might be French playable. It's Standard? Probably not. I would say not. Wilderness Reclamation. Okay, this card's pretty powerful. 1 green, 3 colorless, enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, untap all lands you control. Okay, this card is kind of a combo-y card. Like, if you have something to dump your mana into, like, you know, every twice a turn rotation, like, if you basically get 2 untapped steps every turn. Or every one of your turns, because it doesn't happen on their turn either. It's not like that other card that's more powerful, where it's like every... is it like every untap step you get to untap? I guess it's kind of the same thing. You still get 2 untaps a turn, basically. So, I mean, it's not really clear, like, if this card's going to be powerful or not, like, with the cards that are available in Standard. So I can't really say whether this card is going to be good or not. It's going to require like some kind of niche, like so I'm not going to put this card down. I think it's a powerful Magic card, and I think like it might be in a Standard deck, but I'm not going to say so right now, because you would have to have some specific deck for this to work. I think in a vacuum, this card is not anything special. So we're not going to address that. We're just going to leave it off the list for now. Wrecking Beast. 2 green, 5 colorless. Riot. Trample. I think this card's decent in... It's alright in Limited. Even in Limited for 7, it's not that great. If you're paying 7, you're gonna want like a big... I mean, it's a 7/7 trample or a 6/6 haste, which is okay. But if you're paying 7 mana for a creature, you're gonna want something like better than that typically. But I mean, you can play it in a Standard or in a Limited deck if you would like. I think that was the end of green. Okay, now we're to multicolored, which there are a lot of. It looks like green kind of got... I think green was a little underpowered this set. I think there's a lot of fringe playables, but I don't think green got a whole lot of love. So gold. Alright, first card, Absorb. Absorb is great. Let's give blue another hard counter for 3. But this counter is a spell for 2 blue and a white, and you gain 3 life. This card is definitely going to get played in Standard. This card's decent. It's alright in Limited. Now, the interesting thing is the original Absorb was printed in, I think, Onslaught. So it was Modern can't even use this card until now. So Modern wasn't able to play with this card until it gets printed. So Modern might play this card. I mean, this is a good sideboard card versus Burn. So I don't know if this card's actually going to get played as a sideboard card in Modern. Like, we'll write down Fringe Modern sideboard. Because I don't know if it's actually worthwhile. But we'll see. Because it's never been available in Modern until now, so... I can see it being good against the Burn matchup, but they have so many other good cards. White has so many good cards against Burn already. Like, they have Timely Reinforcements. They have, you know, Dispel, which is just a 1 blue cost counterspell that counters any of their instance. So I don't know if you want a 3 mana counterspell that just gives you 3 life. It might be worth it, though. It might be worth it. I haven't played with that card since it very first came out, and it was only a Standard card back then. So it might very well be worth it in Modern. Aeromonculus. 1 green, 1 blue, 1 colorless, 2/3 flying, adapt 1 for 1 blue, 1 green, 2 colorless. Good and Limited. Not a standard card. Not a constructed card. Applied Biomancy. 1 blue, 1 green. Choose one or both. Instant. Target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Which target creature is on his hand. This is a good card. I like this card. I think those are two decent effects, especially for limited. This is probably not going to get played in standard. I like the design of this card. But yeah, I don't think a creature bounce and just +1/+1. If it were a counter, maybe you could argue this is standard playable. But I'm gonna go ahead and say it's not standard playable. Azorius Knight Arbiter. 1 blue, 1 white, 3 colorless, 2/5 vigilance, can't be blocked. I think it's good and limited. Again, not for constructed. Azorius Skyguard. 1 blue, 1 colorless, or 1 blue, 1 white, 4 colorless. Flying first strike. Creatures your opponent control get -1, -0. Again, I think limited is good. I don't think it's good for constructed. Basilica Bellhaunt. 2 white, 2 black. When Basilica Bellhaunt enters the battlefield, your opponent discards a card and you gain 3 life. 3/4. I think this card's great. I think of the like double cards, this is one of the better ones. It's like Fine Broker, but instead of getting a card back, they discard a card and you gain 3 life. So I think this card's definitely standard playable. I think it's great and limited also. White, white, black, black. Standard playable. Bedevil. Okay, this card, I love the picture, the artwork on this card. Like, another Seb McKinnon, I love him. I love his picture. You got all these devils with, like, these it's actually goblins. It looks like goblins that are wearing all these, like, devil masks. And they're all just, like, pointing their spears at this crying woman who's got her hair, like, floating in the air. Love it. Love this artwork. Like, if I had, like, a print of this would be on my wall, like, right now. This card, I love this picture. It's fucking awesome. And this card is very powerful too. It's 2 black, 1 red, instant speed, destroy target artifact, creature, or planeswalker. I think this card is super playable in standard. I think this card is sideboardable in modern. So, Devil, black, black, red, standard, playable, modern, sideboard. Playable. Like, you might even be able to play one of these main deck in Modern, but probably not. I think it's a sideboard card because it costs 3, which is... It's a lot to pay for one effect, because there's a card called Kolagon's Command, which is 1 black, 1 red, 1 colorless, and it does 2 things. It destroys an artifact, or makes your opponent discard a card, or gets a creature back from your graveyard to your hand, or deals 2 damage to any target. So, people are going to play Kolagon's main deck over this card because it's a 2-for-1, but I think this card is very powerful, and I think it's going to be a sideboard card for sure. Biomancer's Familiar. 1 blue, 1 green. Creature Mutant 2/2. Activated abilities of creature control cost 2 less to activate. This effect can't reduce the amount of mana below 1. The next time a creature adapts this turn, it adapts as though it had no +1/+1 counters on it. So this is kind of like their little Simic, like, adapt deck card. I don't know. I personally don't think the Simic adapt decks are going to be very good. I think there's just too much powerful stuff going on in this block right now. You have access to all the colors with mana. Your mana bases are solid, so you can play like 4-color decks. I think the aggro, like the Rakdos and the Gruul decks, are going to be good. you know, in the beginning for the first couple weeks, and then I think it's going to settle down into like 3 and 4 colored mid-range / control decks with just all the powerful cards. And it feels a lot like Khan's block, where Khans had fetch lands, and like you could just play any amount of colors. And there's these 4-color decks going around that were just powerhouses, because they just had powerful cards. They could play any of them. And I think that's where Standard's going to settle, unfortunately. Bullrat Clan Crusher. 1 red, 1 green, 3 colorless, 4/4. Remove a +1/+1 counter from creature control. It deals 2 damage to any target. This card's kind of bad. I don't think you really play that card in any deck, really. Even limited. I mean, maybe there could be an argument for limited if you have a bunch of creatures with tokens, but not very good. Captive Audience. 1 black, 1 red, 5 colorless, enchantment. Captive Audience enters the battlefield under the control of an opponent of your choice. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose one that hasn't been chosen. Your life total becomes 4. Discard your hand. Each opponent creates 5 2/2 black zombie creature. Okay, this card's hilarious, alright? This card is... Oh, thanks, Firefighter. That's super nice to say. This card is incredibly powerful. This is like that black enchantment not too long ago. I can't remember what set it came out. And on that other card, it was like these 4 beneficial effects. Then the last one you could choose, you lose the game. But like, the benefits were so massive that like you could win the game like before you got the 4th one to go off. I forgot the name of the card. But this card is very, very powerful. Like you cast it on your opponent, and basically at the beginning of your upkeep, you make their... Oh no, so they get to choose. So they get to choose, but you can only choose one that hasn't been chosen. So, like, if they have a handful of cards, they're gonna probably choose to like give their opponent 5 2/2 zombies, or make their life total 4. Like it's like all just incredibly powerful effects that affect your opponent, like that are just all bad. I think this card's more cute than anything. I don't think this card's gonna like see play. You're definitely gonna play this in limited, because if you play a long drawn out limited game, this card like pretty much just wins you the game. It's kind of like the Nicol Bolas card, which is, the name is escaping me, where like you deal 5 damage, they discard 3 cards, you draw 3 cards. Like there's just all these effects, and it costs like, you know, 2 blue, 3 red, 2 black, or something like that, or 3 black, 2 red. So these 7 cost effects I think are really good in limited, but in constructed, I don't really see this card, especially because it's Rakdos colors too. I mean, maybe if you're playing like again, I was saying like the decks are probably going to become like these 4-color monstrosities. Like this could very well be like your win condition. Like you could just like, you know, control the board until you slap down Captive Audience on them, and like this card basically just wins the game for you. I mean, they're going to have 0 cards in hand, a life total of 4, and you're going to have 5 zombies in play. So we'll say Fringe. We'll say Fringe playable. It might be played. Standard Fringe playable. It would have to be in like a control shell though, and this would have to be like your win condition. But see, like there's already like such good planeswalkers in the block right now that like you really don't need this to win. Like Teferi just wins on his own. Like he just gives you such card advantage, and like when he ultimates, you just win. You squeeze them out of the game. I mean, I guess he doesn't actually win the game, but like, yeah. most people will scoop to you at that point, and like you typically don't have to worry about getting your win condition. But I don't know. This card might very well get played. I mean, it's a very powerful card. Cindervines, 1 red, 1 green, enchantment. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, Cindervines deals 1 damage to that player. Sacrifice Cindervines, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Cindervines deals 2 damage to that permanent's controller. Okay, this card's very, very strong. This card might even get played as sideboard in Modern against control decks, because if you land this on the board, that means they're taking a bunch of damage, like in the game, if they don't get rid of it. Like, if they don't counter it or get rid of this card, and no one costs 2, this card's going to kill them. Like, absolutely. It does a damage for each non-creature spell. So control decks play like no creatures. So every spell they're casting, they're taking a damage. And then on top of that, you can also sacrifice this to destroy a pesky artifact or enchantment that might be getting in your way, and it deals 2 damage. So it's basically, what's that spell called? Destructive Revelry. So it's basically Destructive Revelry and this other effect while it's still in play. So this card might just straight up replace Destructive Revelry in the sideboard of burn decks. So we're gonna say I think this is good in Standard, too. So we're going to say Standard playable, Modern, Sideboard playable. Oh, Captive Audience is black-red. I go 5 black-red. Okay. This card's good, though. I like this card. I think it's a very well-made card. Clan Guildmage. I don't think any of the Guildmages are that great, but 1 red, 1 green, 2/2. Target creature can't block this turn for 1 red and 1 colorless. 1 green, 2 colorless. Target land you control becomes a 4/4 elemental creature with haste. Until end turn, still land. See, the problem with these Guildmages is all of their abilities are tap abilities. I think there might be one guild mage that you don't have to tap him, or there's one. The Azorius one is like 1 to tap for both of his abilities. This is okay. I think it's there. I think all of them are decent and limited, but I don't think any of them are going to be playable and constructed. Yeah, you got the Combine Guild Mage. He's 1 green, 1 blue, 2/2, 1 green, 1 colorless this turn. Each creature controller enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on additional +1/+1. Or for 1 blue, 1 colorless, tap, move a +1/+ counter from target creature control onto another target creature you control. See, that's not... That ability is just garbage. Like, I don't even see, like... Yeah, I think the first one's okay, but yeah. Most of these guild mages I just don't think are playable outside of limited. If not all of them. I think the Azorius one might be playable. Okay, Colt Guildmage. I love this picture, dude. It's a Jester. It's a Rakdos Jester with a Jace marionette. It's so good. I love it. I freaking love it. Alright, so he's 1 black, 1 red, 2/2. 1 black, 3 colors. Tap. Target player discards a card. Activate this ability anytime you cast sorcery. 1 red. Tap. Colt Guildmage deals 1 damage to target opponent or planeswalker. Like, these are both really good effects. Like, I think he might be the most powerful one. But again, like, limited. I think limited, these all shine, but not in constructed. Because in the end, they're just a 2/2 creature. Like, they can get removed by anything. Like, a stiff breeze kills them. Deputy of Detention. I think this guy's really good. 1 white, 1 blue, 1 colorless. 1/3, Vidalcan Wizard. When he enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent opponent controls and all other non-land permanents that player controls with the same name until he leaves the battlefield. So he's basically a detention sphere, but he's a creature. So I think this card's definitely going to get played, and it might even get played in Legacy. Because it hits duplicates of cards. So like if they have a bunch of tokens out, it kills them all, and they ain't coming back. So I think this is gonna get played. I think this is gonna be all formats. All formats fringe playable. It might even be fringe. Like, we're going to say fringe for now. All formats fringe playable. He's very, very powerful. So we're just going to say fringe playable because he might be just sideboard in some of the formats. He might be main board in some of the formats. But we're just going to put down all formats fringe playable because it's a very powerful effect and it's a creature. So, I mean, Detention Sphere is an enchantment, so like, and it also costs, it's the same exact mana, but it's an enchantment and it does the exact same thing. But like this, you can put out with like an Ether Vial. So like you can like Ether Vial him into play like at instant speed and have basically a Detention Sphere at instant speed, which is normally a sorcery speed card. So I don't know. This card has potential to do some crazy things, like crazy interactions. So we're gonna put him at all formats fringe. I mean, he's probably like a standard sideboard card that you only want in against like token decks. But then again, he works against anything. It works against anything. So it's non-land permanent. So it hits freaking planeswalkers, you know, enchantments, artifacts. So it might even be... We're just going to say all formats playable. Because he's super powerful, and I'm sure he's going to show up in every format at some point, somewhere. Alright, Domri Chaosbringer. I think this is the only good Planeswalker in the set, by the way. He's 1 red, 1 green, 2 colorless. +1, add... And he's 5 loyalty to start with, which is huge. His +1 is add 1 red or 1 green. If that mana is spent on a creature spell, it gains Riot. That's very, very powerful. So, like, if you're, like, turn 4, play him... Or even if you're playing Ramp, if you're like turn 3, play him off of like a Llanowar Elf or something, and then you're like, oh, put out another one, put out a Llanowar Elf with it, or put out, you know, or maybe have an extra mana and you put out a 2-drop and it gets Riot immediately. So, oh, it gets haste, or it gets a +1/+1 counter on it. Like, I think that's a very good +1. It's not great +1, but I think it's a decent +1. His -3 is look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal up to 2 creature cards, 2, and put them into your hand. Put the rest on your bottom in a random order. So if you're playing a creature deck that's like, you know, Gruul creatures, and then like your only non-creatures are like him and maybe some removal, like you can straight up get 2 creatures off this like pretty easily. Like it's not like guaranteed by any means because it's only 4 cards. And you got lands, of course, but you're pretty much always going to get 1 creature, sometimes 2. So, I think that's pretty good also. And then his -8 is you get an emblem with, at the beginning of each end step, create a 4/4 beast creature token with trample. That's good. That'll win the game eventually. Like, just putting out 4/4 tokens every turn. So I think he's decent. Oh yeah, I think he's standard playable. He is the only Planeswalker I think is standard playable in this set, though. Like Dovin Grand Arbiter, I think he's not very good. 1 colorless, 1 white, 1 blue, 3 loyalty +1. Until end of turn, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put a loyalty counter on Dovin Grand Arbiter. Like his +1 is already just crap. Like it's a control Planeswalker. He's Azorius, but his +1 is whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player. Like that's just pretty much just a blank +1. You're never going to be using the +1 on him. His -1 is create a 1/1 colorless Thopter token with flying. You gain 1 life. Like that's okay, but you're going to pay 3 mana to get a 1/1 Thopter token and gain a life. Like what? I mean, okay, it's all right. It's all right. Like it's not terrible. It's all right. And then his -7 is look at the top 10 cards of your library, put 3 of them in your hand and the rest in the bottom of your library in random order. That is an incredible... I mean, it's incredibly weak ultimate. It does not win you the game by any means. And you have to use this crappy power 4 times before you can ultimate. Like, it just seems all bad to me. Seems all bad to me. Like, I don't even know if I would play that in limited. Like, he seems just bad. Dovin's Acuity. Enchantment. 1 white, 1 blue, 1 colorless. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life and draw a card. Whenever you cast an instant spell during your main phase, you may return Dovin's Acuity to its owner's hand. This seems really powerful. It's like the reverse of, or it's like the Azorius version of Disinformation Campaign. So instead of them discarding a card, your opponent discarding a card, you get to gain 2 life instead, and you also get to draw the card. And then you don't have to play Surveil, you just have to cast instant spell during your main phase to return it to your hand. So this is way easier to bounce back to your hand too. Well, it's probably just as hard, because instant speed, like, you're playing a lot of enchantments in white, so, like, you're gonna have to, like, opt during your turn and stuff, but still, like, just playing an opt bounces it back to your hand, so I think this card's good. I think this card's playable in Standard. It probably will be played. I don't think this card's really... I could see playing one of this in Limited also, if you were so inclined. I think it's Standard playable, though. It might even be a sideboard card, because it gains you life, so you might want this card against, like, aggro decks. Like, just gaining 2 life can sometimes just mean the difference between losing to an aggro deck or not. Like, I've had so many games in my years of Magic where you're like, if I just had 2 more life, I would have won that game. If I just had 1 more life, I would have won that game. So I'm just going to say it's Standard playable. I could see any control deck running, like, just a single one of these main deck, just as that extra, like, little protection versus all the aggro decks out there. So I think it's a good card for Standard. Emergency Powers. This is a very powerful Magic card. 5 colorless, 1 white, 1 blue. Instant speed. Each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their library, then draws 7 cards. Exile Emergency Powers. And then its addendum is, if you cast it during your main phase, you may put a permanent with converted cost 7 or less from your hand onto the battlefield. Now, I think this card is best played as an instant during their end step, because then you get to untap and do whatever you want on your turn. I think casting it on your turn, I mean, I guess if you draw the card that turn, you might want to play it on your turn, but typically it's a Time Twister effect, because the original card that did this was called Time Twister, and it's one of the Power 9 from the original printing set of Magic, The Gathering, the base set. And that's pretty much the only card in the Power 9 that doesn't get played. Like, people do not play Time Twister in Vintage, because you're letting your opponent refill their hand, and that's not good. Like, you don't want your opponent to draw 7 cards. Like, yeah, you get to draw 7 cards too, but you don't control, like, when you play that card. I mean, you control in terms of when you cast it, but, like, the game state at the time could be bad. You could have less... They could have less cards in their hand, so they're actually getting more card advantage from it than you are. There's all these factors that make the card, like, not worth playing, like, because you're just helping your opponent too much. And the old one is sorcery speed, so, like, you have to play it on your turn, and you actually have less mana to use once you draw those 7 cards. So this card actually takes that penalty away. So, like, you could play it on their end step and be the first person to untap with, like, your new hand. But I still think this card is not going to get played. Like I said, Time Twister effects have never been popular. There was that Time Twister effect on that split card not too long ago was it from Amonkhet? It was Commit to Memory, and Memory did the Time Twister effect for 6, but no one ever cast it because, like, you have to tap out to give your opponent a full hand. I mean, you get a full hand too, but they get the first chance to respond and do something with their new cards. So there was, like, a broken little interaction with Torrential Gearhulk, where if Torrential Gearhulk flashed back memory from your graveyard, you could do it at instant speed. So like every once in a while you would see someone Torrential Gearhulk back memory on your turn, on your end step, so they would be the first person to untap. I actually lost at a Grand Prix, in a standard Grand Prix, because it was game 3 and the guy played Torrential Gearhulk on my end step on memory, untapped, played more shit, and then like I ended up drawing like a bunch of lands off of it, which was really bad. It was like the worst possible draw for me, and I was so far ahead before that, and it just ended up being hugely in his favor. But I think like it can end up just swinging the game uncontrollably. Like you could end up losing the game off playing it too. So I'm gonna go ahead and say this card is not playable in either. Even in limited, it's not playable either. I think it's just too risky of a card. I don't think you're ever gonna have a time where you know if it's good enough or not. I think it's kind of like one of those cards that's like, if you're in a really bad position, you can maybe pull yourself out of a bad position, but it could just drive you into an even worse position, so there's no telling like what that card's going to do for you, really. So I don't think it's worth it. I don't think ever playing those effects is really worth it, unless it's on a split card like Commit to Memory was, because people played Commit to Memory because of the card Commit, because of the first half of it. The memory only came up if they were like desperate and they needed like a huge answer to like, you know, not lose. So you don't want to play card that's just like an answer to not lose if you're in a bad position sometimes. Like, no. Alright, Ethereal Absolution. 1 white, 1 black, 4 colorless. Enchantment. Creatures you control get +1/+1. Creatures your opponents control get -1/-1. Okay, this is very, very powerful. And then you can pay 1 white, 1 black, 2 colors to exile target card from opponent's graveyard. If it was a creature card, you create a 1/1 white and black spirit token with flying. This card is very, very powerful. I could see this card getting played as like a 1 or a 2 of in a token deck as like the finisher. Like you already have a bunch of tokens out and then you just like slam Ethereal Absolution and you just like destroy them, right? And then it's also got this little thing where you can make 1/1s and like, and your opponent's all creatures get -1/-1. The problem is it costs 6 mana. So I'm going to say standard Fringe playable on this, because it's going to take a, you know, a very specific deck to play this. And I don't even know if that deck... if it's fast enough for a deck like that. Like 6 mana is a lot. It's a lot to ask for. Typically only like control decks can afford to play 6 cost cards. So I'm going to say Fringe on that, because it is a very powerful effect. Like if you land this and like you have any kind of board state, like you're probably doing pretty well. But I don't think this is playable in any other format. And I think it's good in limited. If you had this card in limited, I would play it in my limited deck for sure. Because limited, a lot of times you get these board stalls where there's just like tons of creatures on both sides. No one can attack because the person blocking just gets to make all the favorable blocks. So you're just sitting there. But if that card comes in, it just hugely skews the favor on your side. Like, alright, final payment. 1 white, 1 black. Instant. As an additional cost to cast a spell, pay 5 life or sacrifice a creature or enchantment. Destroy target creature. Wow. Final payment. Okay, this card's interesting. I like this card, and I think with Afterlife this card is actually not bad. And I think you can also play this in response to someone like casting a removal spell on one of your creatures. You can like just do this instead, and then their spell fizzles. So I think this card's playable. I think this is a good card, because you can play either 5 life or sacrifice a creature or sacrifice an enchantment. Instant speed, removal, unconditional for 2 mana. Yeah, this is good. This is good. I haven't seen this card yet. This is one of the last cards revealed, and it's a common. Dang. 1 white, 1 black. Yeah, I think this is standard playable. And I think it's good and limited too. So, yeah, this card's good. Alright, what do we got left? Dude, we still got a bunch left. Alright, we're gonna... Fireblade Artist. 2/2 for black and a red. Haste. Beginning of PB, you may sacrifice a creature. When you do, Fireblade Artist deals 2 damage to target opponent or Planeswalker. I don't think this card is very good. It has an awesome picture, though. I don't think it's really playable in... I mean, you're sacking creatures every turn, so, like, in an aggro deck, it's just not... That's not what you want to do. You want to keep your creatures alive and attack with them. And then in limited, you don't want to do that either. So, it's not... I mean, maybe there's some token deck that you can make that work in, but typically you do not want to be sacrificing your creatures. You want to be attacking with them. Frenzied Airings. 1 red, 1 green, 2 colors, 3/3, Riot, Trample. It gets +3/+0 until end of turn if you pay 6 mana. I think this is a good limited card. Again, don't think it's going to see constructed play. Frilled Mystic. Okay, this guy I like. It's basically Mystic Snake, but a elf lizard wizard. 2 green, 2 blue, 3/2, flash. When it enters the battlefield, you may counter target spell. I think this is decent. This is gonna get played. Green, green, blue, blue, standard, playable. Obviously, it's great in limited also. Galloping Lizrog. 1 blue, 1 green, 3 colors, 3/3 trample. When Galloping Lizrog enters the battlefield, you may remove any number of ++ counters from among creatures you control. If you do, put twice that many ++ counters on Galloping Lizrog. These effects that like basically put all your goodness on one creature. It's kind of like an all for you know, all or nothing type effect. It's like putting in creature enchantments on an enchantment, and just one removal just completely screws you over. So I don't know. I don't think this card is good. I think that a lot of the time you're just gonna like reduce the power of everything on your board and then put it all in one place, and there's gonna be like removal spell, and you're just like, sweet, I lose now. So don't think that card's good. Get the point. Yes. 3 colorless, 1 black, 1 red. Destroy target creature, scry 1. Instant speed. Great and limited. Not going to see constructed play. Grasping Thrall. I think it's interesting that they're bringing Thralls back. Oh, that's another Seb McKinnon. I love his pictures. I love his artwork, dude. It's so good. It's got the little mask on that creepy, like, bat thing. 3 colorless, 1 white, 1 black, 3/3 flying. When Grasping Thrall enters the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to each opponent, and you gain 2 life. Again, I think that's decent and limited. Not for constructed. Growth Spiral. Oh, this is the Explorer. Okay, so 1 green, 1 blue. Instant, draw a card. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. So it's basically Explorer. Almost the exact same card, except it's instead of 1 green and a colorless, it's 1 blue and a green. So I think this card's going to get played in ramp decks. It just lets you play an extra land and draw a card, so I think it's decent. Gruul Spellbreaker. Okay, this thing's a beast. 1 red, 1 green, 1 colorless, 3/3, Riot, Trample, and as long as it's your turn, you and Gruul Spellbreaker have Hexproof. Okay, this is very, very powerful. So this means that, first of all, since you have Hexproof, Settle the Wreckage doesn't work because it targets a player. Any Edict effects, like there's that black Edict effect that targets a player, that doesn't work. Seal Away doesn't work because your creature has to be tapped. So I guess they can seal away after it's attacked once, but they can't seal away on the turn it attacks. And it's got trample. This is a very good creature, and you can make it have haste, so you could go kill like a planeswalker with it, if you want. Otherwise, it's a 4/4 for 3 with trample, and it has that ability too. Yeah, this card's very good. This card's very good. This is a staple 4 of in any Gruul aggro deck. Great and limited. Just all around badass. That's what that is. Gyre Engineer. 1 colorless, 1 green, 1 blue. Tap to add 1 green, 1 blue. This guy's good. He is a ramp card, and he produces 2 different colored mana, so I think he will see play in Simic and ramp decks. Like, the upward potential of him is you can play a... Like, if you play Llanowar Elf, and then you play him on turn 3, or turn 2, then on turn 3 you can play a 6-drop. So just a Llanowar Elf and a Gyre Engineer. If neither of those get killed, on turn 3 you can play a 6-drop. Seems pretty strong. Seems pretty strong. And obviously he's good and limited too. Even playing like a 6-drop on turn 4, if you just have him, I'll take it. I'll take it. Hackrobat. It's a Hackrobat. Yes. 1 colorless, 1 red, 1 black. Spectacle, 1 black, 1 red. 2/3. 1 black, Hackrobat gains Death Touch until end of turn. 1 red, Hackrobat gets +2/-2 until end of turn. This card's okay. Not great. Like even in, I mean it's decent and limited. It's definitely not standard playable or constructed rather. High Alert. 1 colorless, 1 white, 1 blue. Enchantment. Each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. Creatures you control can attack as though they didn't have defender. And for 2 colorless, 1 white, 1 blue, you can untap target creature. Okay, so they made another version of this card. Like, there's like 2 other versions of this card. They're both enchantments, I believe. One of them's a green. I think they're both green cards, actually. Or one of them's a green card. Yeah, this whole, like, using toughness as power. Defenders can attack. Oh, there's also the dragon that does it. The, Chromium? No, not Chromium. Pallades? It's Pallades more, right? One of the 3-colored Elder Worms has this ability too on him. So this one's slightly better because you can get the untap target creature ability, which is kind of sweet, but I don't think this card is very good. I mean, people are probably going to try to make decks based around this, but nah, I don't think any of those decks were ever very good. So yeah, we're not going to write that down. Hydroid Crassus. Okay, this thing's a jellyfish Hydra beast. Wow. 1 green, 1 blue, X. When you cast a spell, you gain half X life, then draw half X cards, round down each time, flying trample. And it enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. I think this card is... If this card had Flash, it would be really good. Like, I wish this card had Flash. This card would be so good if it had Flash. If you could do it on someone's instep. Like, this card would be so good. As it is, I think it's okay. Like, you pretty much have to pay, like, X = 4 for it to be decent. So you have to have 6 mana to pay for it. For a 4/4 flying trample. And you draw 2 cards and gain 2 life. So that's good. I think that's good. I think if you play this card for 6, it's decent. We're gonna say fringe playable. We're gonna say fringe playable. I don't think it's a particularly good card. I think if it were Flash, it would be a good card in Standard, but as it is, it's, you know, it's an alright creature that lets you draw a couple cards, you know, if you're paying 6 mana for it. Because you round down, so you have... If you only pay X is 2... well, I mean, X is 2, it's a 2-2 flying trample. Trample's really not an issue if you're a 2-2. So you're basically getting a 2-2 flyer, drawing 1 card, gaining 1 life for 4 mana. It's alright. It's alright. It's decent. I think it's French playable. It could be good, you know. It's a 2-for-1. Why not? It's pretty good. It might be better than French playable. It might just be straight up playable. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, spending all that... You're not really affecting the board that much. I mean, there was the... what was that Simic guy for Ether Revolt? The engineer dude who was 1 blue, 1 green, 1 colorless, 3-2, draw a card, gain 2 energy. I mean, he only costed 3. And I think gaining 2 energy is better than gaining 1 life. So, I think that guy was better. And he was an uncommon. This guy's like a mythic and like, yeah, I don't know. We're gonna stay with French playable. Alright, Imperious Oligarch. 1 white, 1 black, 2-1, Vigilance, Afterlife 1. I think this card is decent. I think this works in like token decks. Really good in limited. I mean, it only has 1 toughness, which is pretty bad. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. We're not going to write it down because there's that 1 drop that makes a 1/1 lifelinker for 1, which I think is just strictly better than that card. It might be French playable though. We're not going to write it down though. I mean, you do get a flyer out of it. Maybe we should make it. Maybe we should. Maybe we should make it French playable. Yeah, we're not going to touch it. It might be good, maybe not. Judith the Scourge Diva. 1 red, 1 black, 1 colorless. Legendary. Other creatures you control get +1/+0. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, the Scourge deals 1 damage to any target. I think she's decent. I think she's decent. I think she's playable. The Scourge Diva. I love that. I think in like a Rakdos aggro deck, she can do some serious work. Like obviously the opponent's gonna remove her first, so like, you know, you can't ever hope to attack with her into blockers because she's obviously gonna... I mean, if you're attacking and you're doing like the final attack and they have to block all your guys and they kill them, she's gonna do a damage for each one that dies. So like, you can get your opponent into positions where like they have to block and make bad blocks so that your guys stay alive, which I've seen before. Like you can get, if they're low enough life, and then she gives all their creatures 1 attack. So I think she's good. She's definitely standard playable, like for sure. Rakdos aggro deck for sure. Like you could like turn 1 play that 1 drop 2/1 guy, and then you could like turn 2 play another creature, turn 3 play her, swing in for like 2 extra damage. Like yeah. If you're not disrupted at all, like she's very, very good. But I mean, if you're playing like a lot of removal, she is drastically less powerful against heavy removal decks and decks that have board wipes and stuff because she's just a 2/2. Like by herself, she's just a 2/2. So I think she's playable though. So we're gonna put her down in the playables. Oh, here's Kaya, the other 3 Planeswalker. I think she's terrible too. 1 black, 1 white, 1 colorless. She has 3 loyalty. Her +1 is exile up to 2 target cards from a single graveyard. You gain 2 life if at least 1 creature card is exiled this way. That ability is kind of like already off the bat. That's a sideboard ability. Like main deck, you don't really play with that It's just not a main deck ability. Like, you only really want it against people that use their graveyard in a heinous way. Like Phoenixes, basically just red decks, maybe some other decks. Her -1 is exile target non-land permanent with current red mana cost 1 or less. So she can kill 1-drops as a minus. Now, what does that actually hit? Does that hit any like worthwhile like artifacts or enchantments? Not really. Like, everything that's worthwhile is it costs at least 2. So I think that ability is pretty bad. You can exile that 2/1 guy that can come back from the graveyard. So I guess that's like your best target. You can exile that 1-drop that turns into a lifelinker. That's a pretty good target. Those are pretty much your best targets right there. So, and her -5 is deals damage to target player equal to the number of cards that player owns in exile, and you gain that much life. That actually might be the best thing about her, but I don't think she does very much up until that point. So you exile a bunch of cards from their graveyard, and then you hope to ultimate her. You know what? It might be okay, but she's really doing nothing until then. You're just exiling cards. Like, you're not really affecting the game state at all. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think she's that great. I'm not going to write her down. I mean, if I get proven wrong, great, but gut level reaction, I think she's terrible. Like, her plus does nothing. Like, you don't really care about gaining life in like an aggro type deck, because her ultimate, reflecting her ultimate, like, you want to be playing an aggro deck, because just doing like, you know, 6 damage to her and you gaining 6 life, you want that to be like the last damage that you're killing them with, right? Because you're not going to want to sacrifice your planeswalker. I mean, you could get her up to 6 loyalty and then ultimate her and do like 6 damage and gain 6 life, but I mean, yeah. That's a lot of work just to do 6 damage. Kaya's Wrath. 2 white, 2 black. Sorcery. Destroy all creatures. You gain life equal to the number of creatures you control that were destroyed this way. This card is just your standard board wipe. The whole gaining life from your creatures dying, I think, is pretty irrelevant. I think the only thing is it's just a 4-cost board wipe, which is decent. So I think this is going to get played. And if, I mean, you don't want to be killing your own creatures, so the whole gaining life doesn't really matter. So I think it's just a board wipe, just a 4-cost board wipe, which is Wrath of God, which is always a standard playable card, like always. Oh my god, there's so many cards left. Holy shit, this set's huge. Knight of the Last Breath. 5 colorless, 1 white, 1 black, 4/4, 3 sacrifice and a creature, create a 1/1 white and black spirit token with flying, and then it's got Afterlife 3 itself. Okay, I can see this card. I mean, 7 is a lot. Even in limited, that's not great. But I could see you playing 1 of in limited. But it's definitely not constructed. Lavinia, Azorius Renegade. Okay, this chick's awesome. 1 white, 1 blue. Legendary creature, human soldier. So, okay, first off, she's a human. Each opponent can't cast non-creature spells with converted mana cost greater than the number of lands that player controls. And whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. So basically, this screws over a lot of cards in Legacy. So this card is definitely going to be a Legacy card. This card's probably going to be a Modern card because it's a human, so it's going to go into the Humans deck easily. And it's going to screw over decks like Tron. Tron relies on having 3 Tron lands, you know, Urza's Tower, Urza's Mine, Urza's Power Plant, and they each produce more mana than just 1. So she's going to shut off all the Tron lands. So they can't cast... Oh, wait. Okay, they can't cast non-creature spells. So Tron won't be able to cast Karn or any non-creature spell in the deck that they're using their Tron lands for, if they have Tron in place. They still can, however, cast their creatures, so they can cast like Wormcoil Engine and like Ulamog, but they can't... Karn is their main that they play 4 of, right? Karn is their main thing that they want to do on turn 3, that they assemble Tron, because it costs 7 mana. You get 7 mana for Tron. So it shuts off Karn, it shuts off Ugin the Spirit Dragon. You can only play Wormcoil and Ulamog. So I think the deck only plays 1 or 2 Wormcoil main deck, and then it plays like 1 or 2 Ulamog main deck. So it drastically reduces what they can do in terms of win conditions. So I think this card comes in against like Tron, and it comes in against maybe, you know, decks that play free cards. But there really aren't any modern. I think that's more legacy. So she's going to see play in okay, I don't think she's going to get played in standard though. So I think she's going to be modern and legacy playable. And she might even just be sideboard. So Legacy and Legacy sideboard playable. So she's definitely good. Yeah, she's worth like $4 right now. I'm sure like Legacy players are going to have them in sideboard because it just completely shuts off Force of Will, Daze, you know, Lion's Eye Diamond, Mox, or Lotus Petal, like a bunch of Storm cards, like, yeah. So, Show and Tell. If you Show and Tell, wait, how is she worded again? Can't cast. Yeah. Oh wait, I guess it doesn't count as casting when you Show and Tell. Show and Tell just puts it into play. So this doesn't stop Show and Tell, unfortunately. And I don't think it stops Sneak Attack either. But it's still good. I think it's still good in Legacy, and it's going to see play there. And it's going to see French play in Modern, too. Alright, Law Mage's Binding. 1 blue, 1 white, 1 colorless, flash, enchantment, enchant creature can't attack or block its activated abilities can't be activated. Okay. So there is a passivism effect. I think this card's good. I think it's going to be French. It's really good in Limited, but I think it's going to be French Standard. Because the removal suite's pretty good right now, but this is like a special thing that can deal with certain things that the removal can't. And it's cheaper than Ixalan's Binding. And it can also be played on non-tap creatures, so it's slightly better than Steal Away in that respect. So I think it's going to be Frenzy. I don't know, I think some people are going to prefer playing Steal Away, but some people are going to prefer playing Law Mage's Binding. Macabre Mockery. 1 black, 1 red, 2 colorless. Put target creature card from an opponent's graveyard into the battlefield under control. It gets +2/+0 and gains haste until on turn. Sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step. This card's bizarre. You're taking it from their graveyard. Like, I don't think this is that good. Yeah, I don't think this card is very good. It's like an act of treason, but it costs 1 more and it takes it from their graveyard. It has its instant speed, but still, like, I don't think that card's very good. Even as a sideboard card, I don't think that card's very good. Costs 4 mana, yeah, it's just not. I don't think it's even limited playable, really. Because you have to rely on them having good creatures in their graveyard. Nah. Alright, Mortify. Destroy target creature, enchantment, instant speed, 1 white, 1 black, 1 colorless. Yeah, this card's been reprinted a few times. I think it's good. It's playable. I mean, it's a 3-cost instant speed removal that can hit enchantments too, so this card is always playable in Standard when it gets reprinted, so... playable. I don't think it's playable in any other format. It's not good enough for Modern. It's great in Limited, of course, because it's non-conditional removal. But oh my god, so many cards left. Nikia of the Old Ways. 1 red, 1 green, 3 colorless. Legendary creatures, Centaur Druid. You can't cast non-creature spells. 5/5. Whenever you tap a land for mana, you add 1 mana of any type that land produced. This guy's pretty good. He's a mana flare just for you, and he's a 5/5 for 5. I could see a ramp deck ramping into this and then just casting a huge Banefire off of it or something like that. I think this guy's decent. I think it's a very powerful effect. I think you can definitely see play in Standard. Oh wait, you can't cast non-creature spells. Okay, so never mind. This guy's not as good as I thought. Okay, you can't Banefire someone in the face for like a shitload of mana the turn after you play this. That would be awesome. Okay, he's a 5/5 for 5 that lets you play bigger creatures. I'm gonna take him off the list. I don't think he's as good as I thought. If you can't play non-creatures with him, I think that's hugely detrimental, so you're getting axed, buddy, sorry. You don't really, I mean, if you're already at 5 mana, you don't really need to cast higher spells than that. I mean, I guess you could play him with that, the End Forerunner, that 8-cost card, and you can just play that next turn on turn 6 or whatever. I'm not going to put him down, though. I think that's too cute. A little bit too cute. Pitiless Pontiff. 1 black, 1 white. 2/2. Sacrifice another creature for 1. Pitiless Pontiff gains Death Touch and Indestructible. You're sacking a creature to keep a 2/2 alive. And it gives you Death Touch too. He's alright. He's good for Limited. I don't know. I don't think he's good for Standard. Yeah. I don't think he's good enough for Standard. Sacking creatures is not all that's cracked up to be. Prime Speaker Vanifar. 1 blue, 1 green, 2 colors, 2/4. Sacrifice another creature. Search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost equal to 1+ the sacrifice creatures. Oh, this is the birthing pod. Put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Active this ability anytime you can cast a sorcery. Birthing pod on a creature that costs 4. It is a 2/4, so it's got some survivability, but I don't think this card's good. I don't think this card's gonna. It's worth $15, but I think that's just hyper inflated because people are like, "Oh God, it's birthing pod effect." Okay, the thing about birthing pod is birthing pod costs a Phyrexian mana and 3. So basically, you put it out on turn 3, not turn 4. It was an artifact, not a creature, so you can't kill it with a removal spell, and it can be used the turn it came out. So I mean, it's going off 2 turns before this guy can even go off, and you can't interact with it with a removal spell. So I do not think this card's going to be good. I think it's too cute, and I don't think there's enough good stuff in Standard to utilize this. Like with Modern, you have like just this toolbox of all these different creatures that spans the length of like dozens of Magic sets. So no, I don't think this is good enough for Standard. And I wouldn't play it even in Limited, I don't think. I could be vastly wrong about it, but I don't think it's good enough. I think people just like are thinking birthing pod, but this is not birthing pod. Like, it's a birthing pod effect, but it's not birthing pod. Alright, Rafter Demon, 1 red, 1 black, 2 color, Spectacle, 3 and 1 black, 1 red. 1 Rafter Demon is battlefield. If its spectacle costs a page, opponent discards a card. That's garbage. Like, even in Limited, that's not very good. That's super expensive to be paying for that. Like, maybe Limited. But a 4/2 is just horrible for that mana. Rakdos Firewheeler. 2 red, 2 black. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to target opponent and 2 damage to up to 1 target creature or planeswalker. 4/3. That's actually not terrible. It's a 4/3 though. Having 3 toughness is definitely bad. Like if this were a 3/4, I would like it better. 3 toughness makes it a liability for like every removal spell out there. But it might get played. It deals 2 damage to an opponent and 2 damage to up to 1 creature or planeswalker. That's not terrible. We'll say fringe playable. And that's being generous. I don't even know if that's fringe playable. That card just might be straight up bad. Rakdos Roustabout. And when it becomes blocked, deals 1 damage to the player or planeswalker it's attacking. 3/2 for 3. That's a limited card. It's alright. Not great. It's a 3/2 for 3. It's not really even that good in limited, to be honest. Rakdos the Showstopper. Okay, this guy's a beast. Alright, 1 black, 1 red, 4 colorless, 6/6 flying trample. When Rakdos the Showstopper enters the battlefield, flip a coin for each creature that isn't a demon, devil, or imp. Destroy each creature whose coin comes up tails. Entertain me. Alright, this card's good. I think this card's playable. And the Showstopper. That's fucking awesome. I think it's standard playable. And obviously he's a bomb mythic in limited. If you get him, he's just of course going into your deck. The whole coin flip thing is like, it can be like a one-sided board wipe, so I mean this could end up being incredibly powerful. Otherwise, even if you don't win a single flip, he's still a 6/6 flying trample for 6, which is like, that's fine. I mean, he's really only going to be like a 1-of probably in your deck, but I think he's playable. Ravager Worm. 2 green, 1 red, 3 colorless, 4/5, Riot. When it enters the battlefield, choose up to 1. Fight target creature you don't control, or destroy target land with an activated ability that's an amount ability. I would really like this to cost 1 less mana. I think if this costed 1 red, 1 green, 3 colors, this would be really strong. But for 6, this is just not good enough. It's just not good enough. Like, really? Destroy a land? Okay, so you can destroy, like, Azcanta or, like, a flipped treasure map. But it's kind of like, okay. Like, maybe sideboard. Maybe sideboard. I would never main deck this card. Like, never. I'm not going to write it down because I don't think it's that great. I mean, you can fight a creature with it. It can be a 2. It could be a, you know, a 2 for 1, and you could have a 5/6 creature or a haste creature. I really want to like this card because I like the design of the card, but I think they fucked up and made it too expensive. Like if this were 5 cost, I think it would be really good. It'd be a solid standard card. I'm not going to write it down. I don't like the card. I don't think it's good enough. I think it's too expensive, especially for a Gruul like aggro deck. Like, you're never going to be playing a 6-mana creature. Like, I'm sorry, you just aren't. Rhythm of the Wild. 1 green, 1 red, 1 colorless. Enchantment. Creature spells you control can't be countered. Non-token creatures you control have Riot. Again, this is a card that, like, why are you playing enchantments if you're playing an aggressive Gruul deck? Like, you don't have time to be playing a 3-cost enchantment on turn 3. You're supposed to be playing like that 3-drop badass guy who gives you hexproof and is a 4/4 trample. Like, that's what you're going to be playing on turn 3. Like, you're not going to be playing this. Like, I mean, yeah, I don't think this is good enough. I don't like it. I don't like it. It's just counter to what you're doing as a tempo deck. Like, you're not... You're trying to be too cute. Rubble Belt Runner. 1 red, 1 green, 1 colorless. 3/3. Can't be blocked by creature tokens. 3 for a 3/3. Yeah, it's not great. I mean, you're gonna play it. You're gonna play it in limited because it's 3 costs for a 3/3, but it's not great. It's kind of just a vanilla creature in limited too. Savage Smash. 1 red, 1 green, 1 colorless. Sorcery speed. Target creature you control gets +2/+2 in a turn. It fights a creature you don't control. Again, I think Rabid Bite is just better. I mean, it does give it +2/+2. I still don't think it's good enough. Like, just play a red removal spell like Lava Coil. It's just better in every way. Senate Guildmage. Okay, this guy's... 1 blue, 1 white, 2/2. 1 white, tap, you gain 2 life. 1 blue, tap, you draw a card, then discard a card. He's, like, alright. Again, I think he's limited. I don't think any of the guild mages are actual playable in standard. Sarah for the Scales. Ooh, that's an awesome picture. Love it. Love the artwork. 1 white, 1 black, 2 colorless. Flying, 4/3. 1 white, Seraph of the Scales gains Vigilance in a turn. 1 black, Seraph of the Scales gains Death Touch until end of turn. And it has Afterlife 2. The thing I don't like about it is a 4/3. Like, this card should be a 4/4. Like, I would have no problems with this card being a 4/4. I think it would be a lot better. Being a 4/3 definitely gives it an Achilles heel. It dies to Lightning Strike. It dies to, you know... a multitude of things. It dies to Lava Coil. Lava Coil makes it so it doesn't get its Afterlife triggers. Like, giving it Death Touch. I mean, it has 4 power. I mean, like, I guess that means it can kill, like, you know, Doom Whisperer and, like, Carnage Tyrant. But those are, like, the only thing that Death Touch really matters against, because it's already got a 4 power. And then Vigilance, like, you're not going to keep it back as a blocker as a 4/3. 3 toughness is, like, shit for a blocker. So I think this thing's not as good as people think it's going to be. I think it'll probably get played. So I think it's standard playable, but I don't think it's that great. There's just too many exile effects and good removal that just, like, it's gonna negate the Afterlife half the time. I don't know. I don't think it's that great. I think it's decent. You're gonna play it in limited, obviously, every time you get it too, but it is a flyer. Flyers are good. But I mean, like, this compared to, like, the Sphinx, the 4/4 Sphinx that's 2 blue, 2 colorless, and has, like, all those badass abilities on it, like, that thing just crushes this in terms of power level. Like, Sharkdo Crab. Okay, baby. Let's go. Fish Octopus Crab. 1 green, 1 blue, 2 colorless, 4/4. Adapt 1 for 1 green, 1 blue, and 2 colorless. Whenever 1 or more +++ counters are put on Sharkdo Crab, tap target creature opponent controls. That creature doesn't tap during its controls and tap step. This card's great and limited. Really great. But I don't think it's good enough for constructed. Don't think it's good enough. Because you gotta pay 4 for that ability. It's just like, You're basically just looking at a 4/4 for 4, which is okay. Not great. Simic Ascendancy. 1 blue, 1 green. Enchantment. 1 blue, green, colorless. Put a ++ counter on target creature. Whenever 1 or more ++ counters are put on a creature controlling, they put that many growth counters on Simic Ascendancy. At the beginning of your upkeep, Simic Ascendancy has 20 or more growth counters. You win the game. I think this card's cute more than anything. I don't think this card's good. It's like an alternate win condition that you can put +1/+1 counters for 3 on a creature. That's just like, not mana efficient. I don't think it's really that good. We're not going to write it down. I mean, you're going to play it in limited, of course, but I don't think it's constructed playable. Sphinx of New Prov. 2 white, 2 blue, 4/3, Flying Vigilance. Spells your opponent's cast that target Sphinx of New Prov cost 2 more to cast. This guy's not bad. He's not bad. I don't see him getting played in Constructed, though. He's really good limited. Like, I don't... This doesn't really fit into the Azorius, like, deck type. Like, you're not going to just play, like, a 4-3 creature, like, as you're winking it. Like, control decks just don't do that, so I'm not going to write him down. I don't think he's good enough for Constructed. But, I think it's really good for limited. It just doesn't fit the Azorius archetype really at all. Sphinx's Insight. 1 blue, 1 white, 2 colorless. Instant, draw 2 cards. If you cast a spell during your main phase, you gain 2 life as well. There's so many good draw spells, I don't think this is good enough. Just don't think... And you got Absorb now for life gain. Yeah, I just don't think this is good enough. I think there's that other one that is the Scry 3, draw 3 for 5 is better than this by a lot. Chemister's Insight's better than this. Yeah, I don't think that card's going to get played. You could probably play it in limited. It'd be fine, but... Sunder Shaman. 2 green, 2 red for a 5/5. Sunder Shaman can't be blocked by more than one creature. Whenever Sunder Shaman deals damage to a player, destroy a target artifact or enchantment that player controls. I mean, it's 4 for a 5/5. That's not terrible. He's like at the upper end of, like, you know, Gruul creatures if you're playing like a Gruul, aggressive Gruul deck. I don't really like the whole, like, can't be blocked by more than one. That's okay. I mean, it's good for, like, I guess it's good for, like, token strategies where, like, they're going to try to team block you and kill you, but still just one removal kills it. I don't know. I'm not going to write him down. I don't think he's that great. I think there are better creatures you can play. And, like, destroying artifacts and enchantments is kind of like, eh. It's kind of like, again, like, doesn't really matter. If he had, like, if he had haste, that would be something. Or if he had riot, rather. If he was, like, 4/4 with riot, I would think he would be better. Or 5/5 with riot. Like, I think he'd be a lot better if you take away those other 2 abilities and just give him riot. Which I don't know why they didn't, because that's their, like, power, but that's cool power. Alright, what's going on? Okay, I'm slowing down for a second. Syndicate Guildmage, 1 black, 1 white. Human Cleric, 2/2, 1 white, 1 colorless. Tap target creature with power 4 or greater. 1 black, 4 colorless. Tap. Syndicate Guildmage is 2 damage target opponent or planeswalker. Yeah, again, not great. Can play it in limited. Tessia Karloff. 1 white, 1 black, 2 colors, 2/4. If a creature is dying, causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger. That ability triggers additional time. Creature tokens you control have Vigilance, Lifelink. I think she's playable. With a bunch of Afterlife and her. I think she's playable. I think she's standard playable. In a token deck. And Lifelink and Vigilance is nothing to scoff at either for your tokens. I think she's playable. I don't think she's particularly great, but I think she could do some work. And of course she's, well, in limited you're probably not going to play her. Theater of Horrors. This card's really good. 1 black, 1 red, 1 colorless enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. During your turn, if an opponent lost life this turn, you may play cards exiled with Theater of Horrors. That means lands too, also, by the way. And it's not until end of turn. So each turn these cards keep accruing, and you have this stack of exiled cards that you can play during your turn. So this card's great. It's just straight up card advantage. Theater of Horrors deals 1 damage to target opponent or planeswalker for 1 red and 3 colors. This card's great. This card is definitely going to get played in Standard. This card might even be playable in Modern. I'm going to say Modern Fringe playable. This card potentially can gain you so much card advantage. Like, if you land this card, like, oh my god. Like, you could play this in a burn deck, or in, you know, an aggro deck, or Mardu Pyromancer, or there are a couple other decks that could play this that would just do serious work. This card would do serious work. So, like that, this card could be playable in Modern. Let's see how much it's worth. $2? Wow. I don't know. I think that card's good. I think it's good. Sagana, Utopian Speaker. Who are you? 1 blue, 1 green, 2 colors, 4/4. When Zagana, Utopian Speaker, in his battlefield, you control another creature with +++ counter on it. Draw a card. Adapt 4 for 6 mana. 1 blue, 1 green, 4 colors. Each creature you control with ++ counter on it has trample. She's not bad. She's not terrible. I like the draw card off of her. Just a 4/4 for 4 that draws you a card. Sure, we'll say she's playable. We'll say fringe playable. I mean, she's definitely gonna have to go in like some weird specific, like you know, Simic deck. Some of these should actually be more fringe than not. I think I've been a little bit, for the gold cards, I've been a little bit lenient. She definitely needs to have a specific deck that she's played in, but that's pretty powerful. Like a 4/4 that draws you a card and can become an 8/8. And then each creature with +1/+1 has trample, including her, so she becomes an 8/8 trample. I mean, there's potential there. There's potential there. Zerta Goblin, 1 green, 1 red, 2/2 Riot. So a 2, you get a 3/3 for 2. That's pretty good. I think this is playable. I think you play this in a Gruul aggro deck. Because you can be haste too, so you can kill planeswalkers with him. I think he's standard playable. Foolish Fiend. 1 black or red. Creature Devil. When Foolish Fiend dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. Or Footlight Fiend. I thought it said Foolish. It's Footlight Fiend. So it's little guy. It's the little guy right here, and he's got a candle melting over his face. Damn, harsh. This Footlight's broken. Get me a stagehand. This thing's like okay and limited. Definitely not constructed playable. Even in limited, it's not very good. Rubble Slinger, 2/3 reach, green or red, and 2. It's okay and limited. Not constructed. Scuttlegator. 2 green or blue, 4 colorless. Dude, look at his eyes. What? Defender 6/6. You can adapt 3 for 6 and 2 green or blue. As long as Scuttlegator has a ++ counter, it can attack as though it didn't have Defender. This card's bad. Even in limited, this card's bad. It's just a bad card. Just a bad Magic card. Cynic Griffin, 3/2 flying for 2 blue or green, blue or white, 2 colorless. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. It's limited. Again. Vizkopa Vampire. 3/1 lifelink for 2 and 1. Yeah. I don't like 1 toughness. 1 toughness is not good. Especially with like Goblin Chain World running around. I don't think that's a good card. It's bad. It's bad. Bedeck and Bedazzle. Either 2 red, 2 black, target creature gets +3/-3 until end of turn, or Bedazzle 4 and 1 black, 1 red, destroy target non-basic land. Bedazzle use 2 damage to target opponent or planeswalker. I think this card's okay. It's alright. I don't think it's playable, but I like the design of it. It's alright. Destroying a land for 6 is just not good. And the +3/-3, you can there's just way better removal. So it's not really constructed playable. Carnival and Carnage. Carnival deals 1 damage to target creature or planeswalker and 1 damage to that permanent's controller. Carnage deals 3 damage to target opponent. That player discards 2 cards, and that costs 2 colorless, 1 black, 1 red. Oh, so that's Blightning, basically. Blightning is a card that's in Modern, and it's 1 colorless, 1 black, 1 red, and it deals 3 damage and makes the opponent discard 2 cards. I mean, this card's definitely going to be played for the Carnage side, but 4 mana for it, I don't think it's good. I mean, you could play a burn deck, maybe, a Rakdos burn deck, and have this card in it, but I think you'd just rather have cheaper cards. I just don't see this being that good. I just don't like it. I don't like Blightning either. Blightning even costs 3. It costs 1 less mana than that, and I still think Blightning is horrible. Like, Blightning maybe would be playable in Standard in this set, but only because it's 3 mana. I don't think a 4 mana Blightning is ever worthwhile. Collision Colossus, 1 green or red, 1 colorless. Collision deals 6 damage to target creature with flying. Or Colossus, target creature gets +4/+2 and gains trample until end of turn for 1 red and 1 green. This is decent. I think this might be playable. +4/+2 and trample as an instant speed is definitely a good rule effect. I guess these are... what are these cards called? They're not actually gold cards, they're hybrid cards. Actually, they're hybrid split cards. This is a hybrid split card. We'll just call it hybrid cards. Collision Colossus. Green or red. 1 and 1 green or red. And red and green. Standard playable. Yeah, I think the card's good. Can kill a flyer or give your guy +4/+2 and trample at instant speed. Yeah, I like that. I think those are both decent effects. And they're only 2 mana each, so. Because I don't typically like playing just plus to, you know, power and toughness. If it's just that card, but that has two uses, and it also gives trample. So that's pretty beastly. I like it. Consecrate or consume 1 and 1 black or white. Exile target card from graveyard. Draw a card. Consume 2 colorless, 1 white, 1 black. Target player sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures they control. You gain life equal to its power. I don't think that's good enough for 4. And I think Consecrate's crap, so I think that card's bad. There's just way too good a removal for that card to be any good. Again, you can play it in limited. That's it. Depose, deploy. Tap target creature, draw a card for 1 and 1 white or blue. 2 colorless, and 1 white and 1 blue for deploy. Create 2 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature tokens with flying. Then you gain 1 life for each creature you control. That's bad. I think this is totally bad for Azorius. Like, unplayable. You can play it in limited, sure. Not playable in constructed. Incubation incongruity. Incubation. Look at the top 5 cards of your library for 1 blue or green. You may reveal a creature card from it and put that into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Or incongruity, 1 colorless, 1 green, 1 blue. Exile target creature. That creature's controller creates a 3/3 green frog lizard creature token. I think it's bad. I mean, the incubation is okay. You get to look at 5 cards and get a creature, but it doesn't let you get anything but a creature, so I don't think it's good enough. If it let you get like a land or a creature, then I'd say it's a good card. But just a creature, not great. Repudiate, replicate. 2 blue or 2 green, counter target activated or triggered ability. Oh, it's a stifle. Or replicate for 1 colorless, 1 green, 1 blue. Create a token that's a copy of a target creature you control. I think quasi-duplicate is just straight up better than this card because it's got jumpstart and it costs the same. Only it's 2 blue instead of a green and a blue. And then counter on activated or triggered ability, that's just garbage. Like, Stifle's only worth playing when there's like fetch lands in the format. And even then, it's just like most people don't play Stifle, so yeah. And Stifle costs 1. Yeah, that's not good. I don't like that card. Not good enough. Alright, Revival and Revenge. Revival is 2 black or 2 white. Return target creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's not bad. Oh, it's sorcery speed though. Revenge is 4 colorless, 1 white, 1 black. Double your life total. Target opponent loses half their life. Rounded up. That's cute. That's cute. I think this card's not good enough. And this being a sorcery speed, it's just not good enough. Don't think it's good. Thrash and Threat. Thrash is 2 red or green. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power. Target creature you planeswalker you don't control. Ooh, dude, the Gruul cards. They're giving Gruul some mad love. Giving him some mad love. And then Threat, and it's an instant speed too. Fuck yeah. Threat is 2 colorless, 1 red, 1 green. Create a 4/4 red and green beast creature with token with trample. I like this card. Can either be a creature or a planeswalker or creature removal. I think this card is playable. Thrash and Threat. Red or green or red and red or green. That looks kind of weird. And then 2 red, green. Oh, we can use a nice little, what's that nice line splitter? That one. Not that one. That one. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we'll do that. Standard playable. That's nice. That's really nice. It's about time they made, like, you know, a fight effect that you can use on planeswalkers. Like, come on. They've needed that for a while. They've needed a way to kill planeswalkers with, like, the fight effect. I'm really glad they made that. That's a really clever idea. They should have had it a long time ago. Warrant and Warden. Warrant is 2 white or blue. Put target attacking or blocking creature on top of its owner's library. Instant speed, not bad. Warden is 3 colorless, 1 white, 1 blue. Create a 4/4 white and blue Sphinx creature token with flying and vigilance. For 5. Like, what are these Azorius cards that make creatures and stuff? I don't get this. Like, Azorius is a control deck. On top of its owner's library. I don't know. I don't think this card's that good. Honestly. It's... yeah. Again, you can play it in limited. I don't think it's good in constructed. Like, I mean, I guess you could look at it as a win condition after you've controlled the board and you have your player in submission, beaten to submission with card advantage, and then you can throw out a 4/4 and win the game with that. But, I mean, the removal itself is not very good. It just puts it on the top of their library, so you know they're drawing it next turn. So they're going to get another threat, so I don't think it's that good. I don't think it's that good. Alright, and then you got these things. These are not actually in the set, right? These are like the bonus cards that you have to get with the Fat Pack or whatever. Yeah, these are the... I guess we'll look at them real quick. Sphinx of the Guild Pack is all colors, flying, hexproof from multicolored. 7. Oh wait, we haven't looked at artifacts yet, have we? Oh shit, we still have artifacts to look at. Okay, there aren't that many. Azorius Locket. It's just a locket. I think all the lockets are just like, okay. We're not going to look at all the lockets. Gruul, Azorius, Orzhov, Simic. I don't think any of them are playable in constructed. I think you can play like 1 or 2 of them in limited, but that's it. Otherwise, they're just average. They're like, you know, they're whatever. I don't think they're constructed playable though. Gate Colossus, 8 colorless, 8/8. The spell costs 1 less. Cast freeze. Great gate you control. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Whenever it enters the battlefield under your control, or whenever a gate enters the battlefield under your control, you may put Gate Colossus from your graveyard on top of your library. That actually might be in some weird convoluted gate deck. You can just keep bringing it back. I'm not gonna write it down because that's cute. It's too cute. Glass of the Guild Pack. 2 colorless mana for multicolored creatures you control, get +1/+1. That might be playable. That might be playable. Like, how many multicolored creatures are there? For Gruul, you could play that 2-drop and the 3-drop, definitely. I guess you could play that 4-drop. The 5/5 one that I said is not playable, but he's a multicolored creature, so... is that really worth it? Oh, do you know what that does work for? Is the Afterlife tokens, because they're black and white 1/1 flyers. Okay. This is playable. I'll say this is playable. Maybe it's fringe playable. Yeah, I can see that in the token deck with the flyers, because they're, yeah. Fuck yeah, it only costs 2, yeah. Okay. Like, I was thinking you could maybe do it in Gruul, because there's a lot of good multicolored creatures for Gruul, but, like, even Gruul might not be good enough. Junk Troller. 4 for a 0/6 defender. Put target card from a graveyard on the bottom of its owner's library. No. Card is bad. 4 mana. It's bad. It's bad, bad, bad. Alright, Locket. Scrabbling Claws. 1 mana of any color. Tap, target artifact, or target player exiles a card from their graveyard. 1. Sacrifice Scrabbling Claws, exile target card from a graveyard. Draw a card. It's like a much worse version of the modern staple, which name is escaping me. Relic of Progenitus. Or what's the name of that card? Is it Relic of Progenitus? Yeah, Relic of Progenitus. Yeah, Relic of Progenitus does the same exact thing, except it's 1 and sacrifices all cards from all graveyards and you draw a card. So this is just like Relic of Progenitus Light. This card's maybe a sideboard card. I don't think it's good enough. I think, like, if you can't play any of the colors that can deal with graveyard or exiling creatures from the battlefield, I don't think this card's that good. I don't think it's that good. I don't think it's playable. You need to be able to exile, like, the entire graveyard, not just one card. The equipped creature gets one to put out, equipment. Equipped creature gets +0/+3 and has pay 2 and tap. Target puts top 3 cards of life in their graveyard. Equip for 3. No! No mill cards. Milling is dumb and bad, and it's never an effective strategy to win in Magic, like, ever. There's, like, one modern deck that does it, and it's, like, a tier 2 deck that's not even that great. Like, it's just, no. Milling is not a valid way to kill your opponent. Hanako! What's up, buddy? How you doing? Just doing the little tail end of our, analysis here of the Ravnica Allegiance. That actually might be the last card. I know, Sphinx of the Guild Pact. Sphinx of the Guild Pact is all colors, flying, hexproof from monocolored, 5/5. That's actually not bad. It might be good. Yeah. We're not going to put it down because it costs 7, but that card's not terrible. Like, I mean, it has hexproof. Oh, bummer, man. It's good that your computer's fine, though. For sure. Alright. Tome of the Guild Pack. Last 2 cards. Oh, no, we got lands to look at. Tome of the Guild Pack, 5 mana. Whenever you cast a multicolored spell, draw a card. And tap to add 1 mana of any color. I think this card's cute. I think this card's too cute. I don't think it's good. Dovin's Automaton. 4 colors, 3/3. As long as you control a Dovin Planeswalker, Dovin's Automaton is ++++. Oh, that's the Dovin card. I think Dovin's trash, so that card's bad too. Alright, lands. Alright, you got all the shock lands, which are great, of course. Every shock land is amazing. And the artwork's really cool. I'm actually going to pick up a lot of these. I don't have 4-ofs of a lot of the shock lands, so, like, I'm going to be getting 4 Blood Crypts and, like, 1 Breeding Pool. I have 3 Breeding Pools. I'm going to get 3 Hollowed Fountains. I'm going to get, you know, 4 Godless Shrines. I don't think I have any Godless Shrines. Maybe I have 1. So I'll get 3 or 4 of those. Stomping Grounds, I think I only have 1, so I'll get 3 of those. Yeah, so this is going to be good. Alright, the lands. Gateway Plaza. I think Gateway Plaza is just a reprint. Gateway Plaza is a tap. When you're just battlefield, you can sacrifice, then just pay 1, add 1 to every color. Yeah, it's not good. Gateway Plaza is not a good card. It's not even good in Limited, really. It's just a bad design. And then we got Plaza of Harmony. When Plaza of Harmony is a battlefield, if you control 2 or more gates, you gain 3 life. Add 1 colorless mana or add 1 mana of any type that a gate can produce. Okay, this might get played. Fringe. In the gate decks. Everyone's talking about gate decks right now, so this might be Fringe. We'll just write it down. Why not? I'll say standard French playable. Alright. And I think that is it. That is all 259 cards in the printed set. Yep. Except for the Guild Gates. We all know what Guild Gates do. If it's they're worth playing if, like, you're playing some gate deck that, you know, synergizes with them. And of course the shock lands are all worth playing. They're amazing. They get played in Modern extensively. So yeah, that concludes my in-depth analysis and playability of all cards in Ravnica Allegiance. Tune in next time for more analysis in Magic tournaments and sets to come. Thanks.